I was here electronically, but I wasn't.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming out to our November 4th City Council meeting tonight.
Is that on?
They're not on.
Can we come to order out there, please?
Is that on?
Yeah, it's on. I want to thank everybody for coming out to our November 4th City Council meeting. Can everybody mute their cell phones? And can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? William, can you lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we all stand? William McIntosh is going to do the invocation tonight.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you today for the opportunity that you blessed us to wake up in our right mind, fully dressed. Father God, we just ask that you bless each and every one that's here in the home that we represent. Open their minds and their hearts, Father, for all the business and transactions that may come forth. It's in Jesus Christ that we pray. Amen.
It's citizens recognition. William McIntosh is going to give the citizenship award tonight, and Jeff Green is going to be next month.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I got to stand in front. Good evening, everyone. I am here to congratulate our Citizen of the Month, Miss Rhonda Ward. But I couldn't justify without giving you some of her background. Miss Rhonda Ward, in 23 years as a Muncie educator, has been privileged to work with students and teachers in a variety of K through 12 settings. She has served as a classroom teacher, interventionist, data coach, athletic director, assistant principal, just to name a few. Currently, Rhonda fulfills dual roles as the Director of Diversity for Muncie Community Schools and Assistant Director of the Muncie Area Career Center, and has served the district for the past 2 years in this capacity. While she thoroughly enjoyed her time teaching in the classroom and being a school administrator, some of her most favorable years also include coaching girls track and cross country at Muncie Central High School, where she mentored and witnessed several of her teams achieve great success. Rhonda is proud HBCU graduate of Tennessee State University, where she received her bachelor's degree in psychology and ran track under a world-renowned Olympic track coach, Edward S. Temple. She serves on numerous boards throughout Delaware County and is committed to helping make her hometown the best it can be. In addition to her participation in local organizations, she is also heavily involved in the Tennessee State National Alumni Association, where she is a life member and also a general member of the first Black female sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc. Rhonda's work is rooted in the belief that every child can succeed despite the obstacles or challenges he or she may be faced with, and has always looked at her role in education as a ministry. Hence, she is extremely passionate when it comes to serving young people of all ages, backgrounds. She functions as an advocate and mentor to several former and current students and exemplifies great pride in helping them reach their fullest potential, both in and out of classroom. She loves instilling in them her favorite quote, which was imparted in her and her college teammates. Success is how badly you want it and how much rejection you can take. One of her favorite aspects in her role as Director of Diversity is helping to ensure equality of opportunities and experiences for all students, staff, and families, regardless of their backgrounds and identities. She enjoys bringing out the best in students and helping to develop a positive work culture that is safe and welcoming for all MCS stakeholders. In her spare time, Rhonda enjoys traveling, shopping, hanging out with her family, although one might find her more often than not spending her personal time with students traveling to HBC college fairs and or HBCU campus visit tours. Without any ado, I will present Ms. Ward with the City of Muncie Citizenship Award.
Really quick. I'll just make this really quick. First of all, good evening, and thank you, Mr. Billy McIntosh and the City of Muncie for recognizing me on tonight. I am truly honored and grateful to accept this award. And I am so blessed to have found my calling many, many years ago. My role in education is equal to ministry, as you heard in my bio, and I treat it as such. Because serving the students and the families in this community is truly a blessing to me, and I try my best to do it with all of my heart. Giving back is something that has truly been instilled in my siblings and I from my mom and dad who are here tonight. So thank you, Mom and Dad. And again, thank you, Mr. McIntosh and the City of Muncie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, Jeff Green will be next month. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mason?
Here.
Ms. Selby?
Here.
Mr. McIntosh?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Ms. Powell?
Here.
Mr. Garrett?
Here.
Ms. Gillian?
Here.
Mr. Basham?
Here.
President Dishman?
Present. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve any
move.
any minutes or changes? There's been a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gillian?
Yes.
Ms. Selby?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
President Dishman?
Yes. Moving on to appointments to the board. We have a appointment to the MITS bus appointment. I'm going to make it for next month. Give everybody a chance to get a hold of your councilman if you're interested in serving on the board. And we'll go from there. Thank you. Any committee reports? Any committee reports? Or we're moving into ordinances previously introduced. Ordinance 24-24.
Ordinance 24-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 76, Abandoned Vehicles of the Muncie Code of Ordinances.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance
So moved.
20-24? Can you please wait till I finish?
Sure.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? Do we have any from the audience? Any?
Actually, I just, if I may, President Dishman,
Oh,
may I?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang on.
Just to be clear, the money left in the abandoned vehicle fund at the end of the year will remain in that fund rather than go into the general fund. Am I correct?
Well, I'll tell you, Chief Sloan with Muncie Police, real quick.
Yes.
And we've spoken to legal and the towing company and the state and parking officers and stuff. And honestly, I mean, I think looking at this as it's written, I think we're just going to stick with state code unless I've got any dissenting opinion here. But as far as the police department's concerned, I mean, you're still welcome to pass it, whatever you want to do. But we've just decided we're going to stay with the state code on this. Does that
So
work
you
for
want us to
everybody?
withdraw it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Work for you?
Well,
Okay,
Got it.
So do we need
It
to
just-
have a move? Do we need to move to?
Whoever sponsored it would have to.
I'm pretty sure it was me.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes along with it. We will have stuff coming up in December that deals with
Yeah.
parking the wrong direction, the distance from curb, fire hydrant, parking too close to an intersection, those kinds of things. But in looking at this one and talking to all those other entities, a lot of that's already being taken care of. I think we're okay.
Mr. Gibson, can we just table it until he brings the rest of the stuff up later on in the year?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yes, those are all together.
Yeah, it sounds like the stuff that's gonna be coming in December is gonna be unrelated to abandoned vehicles, so it's really up to you. It sounds like the administration is fine with it being withdrawn. If that's the case, whoever sponsored it would need to withdraw it. I will say the ordinance essentially mirrors the state statute, so I think what Chief Sloan is saying, they're just gonna move forward with the state code as their authority to do what they've been doing with abandoned vehicles as opposed to this ordinance.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak on it?
Went to the clerk.
Belinda Munson, City Clerk. After reading through the ordinance, I'm not sure what we're currently doing, but I do want to point out, and I left handouts for everybody. The city clerk's office is the violations bureau, and that's by Indiana code. We also have a Muncie code of ordinances stating the same thing. So any payments that are to be made in regards to what this is or was should come through my office. In all honesty, any entity, any department writing tickets should not be collecting the money. There's a conflict of interest when that falls into play. Now, what we've done in the past and what the current ordinances is in other departments, I don't have any say-so over, but I am going to comment as this comes up again. I do want to be included to make sure that the processes, the payments are coming through my office. It also helps the officers that are writing the tickets in the long term not be accused of any malfeasance.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone from the council?
So are we, I'm sorry,
No, I was gonna ask the same question.
are we going to entertain a dismissal from the sponsoring council person?
Yeah,
Is
I'm gonna
that,
withdraw
is
it.
that,
I just wanted you to
okay,
have
okay,
some
okay.
last comments on it.
I'm just a new guy. I'm just,
I'm just gonna make a motion to withdraw it.
You can, as a sponsoring council member, you can withdraw on your own.
Okay, I just withdraw 24-24.
Yes.
It was Harold, no.
Sarah.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that this be withdrawn. This ordinance.
I think that's what I just did.
He's
Has to be the sponsor.
Harold sponsor.
Oh, you,
withdraw.
yeah.
He's
Okay, I'm
sponsored.
sorry, Harold. Go ahead then. Okay, there's a motion made to withdraw it then.
Just
Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Selby?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
President Bishop?
Yes,
9 yes.
thank you. Ordinance 26-24.
Ordinance 26-24, an ordinance of the city of Muncie establishing designated outdoor refreshment areas.
Anyone here wishing to speak on this from the audience?
Mr. President.
I'd just like to let them go first.
Mike Sullivan, 2615 West Purdue Avenue. I would just encourage council to pursue this with great caution. I've spent a good part of my life in Portland, Oregon, a beautiful city at one time. And it's fallen on the hard times, primarily because of kind of liberal, lax laws and changes and having kind of an open Funville downtown area, all of which turned out to be a disaster. That's the event of Portland, Oregon. So my caution is, I feel that guns, alcohol, drugs do not make a good mix. I'm not sure that it's good for families. And I think it's very important that you have clear in mind what the zones are, how they're connected, are they contiguous, and also make sure that you have appropriate enforcement in place. It's absolutely essential. And you'd have to hear from the police to have that assurance and have a plan in mind. It's a way that can lead to great disaster. So my advice is, when in doubt, listen to an old person.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good advice.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Edgel, and as a previous owner of a downtown business, I think that this is a very good thing for downtown business, especially since there's not a lot of live music downtown right now. They need something to do, and that's a continuity that brings everybody together because it's from place to place. And our downtown is in sore need of something that brings us back to what we used to have. So I support it fully.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Becca Rice, and I have the good fortune of serving as the Vice President for Governmental Relations and Industry Engagement at Ball State University. I'd like to express our gratitude to the council and to Councilwoman Selvey for approaching us early about this ordinance and asking for our input. Ball State is supportive of the ordinance. Ball State's working hard with our developer and partners to restore the vibrancy in the village. As you well know, nearly $200 million has been invested into the village development, and we will see the village emerge as a best-in-class, multi-generational district driven by arts, culture, entertainment, and innovation with new dining, retail, service, living, and gathering options for a new hospitality use adjacent to our new Performing Arts Center, which is the principal catalyst for our ambitious vision. This will not only benefit the university, but also the city and the region, and we will provide enticing options to visit, to live, to work, and to play in the development. Based on input from our partner, Fairmount Properties, who's experienced in these sorts of developments, we believe that the Dora District will help to create this vibrancy, attracting visitors to shop and to dine at the businesses in the village. Of course, we will coordinate with the Muncie Police Department as we implement. Our Ball State Police Department and Chief Foster are committed to engaging in a way that allows this to be a safe and enjoyable district. The safety of our campus and our community is an important priority for Ball State University. So thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening, and happy to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Lett with Elm Street Brewery, so I'm in the McKinley district, and it's one of the districts you're going to do the door in, which I think is a great idea. I'm glad City Council took this project on to see if we could get it approved. I have quite a bit of space in there, and I'm also have another facility that I'm open off to the side over by Madison. And we wanted this approved because we could actually be able to move around into the park-like area that's right across from Elm Street, and then down to the other brewery where we're brewing all of our things now, and we're going to have a coffee shop down there and stuff. So we just thought it'd be a great idea to make it so we could move around easier to the neighborhood. When we do a beer fest and things like that, it's also going to make a big difference because we won't have to go and get numerous special permits to actually do that, because people can just go back and forth. And well,
Thank you, Mr. Lett.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Anyone from the council?
Thank you.
Oh, okay, hang on.
Just as the representative for the Muncie Police Department, are there any questions for us?
I
Okay.
believe we need to make a motion before we can discuss, correct? Council? Yes. No, there's not been a motion. So would you, as a sponsor, would you like to
I'd
have
like,
the honors?
thank you, Ms. Bell. I would like to make a motion to approve this ordinance.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Do a roll call, please.
No,
wait.
we can still talk, right?
Oh, okay.
No,
Go ahead.
We had the question.
Go ahead.
Chief, would you just like to explain that you have the capabilities of covering all this and keeping?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
there's been a lot of chatter about this, and I've talked to several people about it, whether it's bars or other police departments. And we have several things that go on downtown where alcohol is involved. We have very few problems. And I know there's some questions about, whether or not other family members, children are going to see this or whatever. And I understand that. That is important, sure. But I mean, Disney and Chuck E. Cheese and all these places now, right? You can walk around with a beer or a mixed drink or whatever it might be. So I think we're a little bit past that at this point, but we've still got enforcement capabilities, right? We've still got public intoxication. We've still got disorderly conduct, obstruction of traffic, whatever the problem might be. I'm in favor of trying it. Okay. I think we can handle it. And with as few problems as we've had before, I mean, you're talking about people who spend maybe $15 on mixed drink, right? And all of a sudden, their group wants to go from this bar to the other. Well, what happens, right? You slam that drink and now you're out the door. They get another drink somewhere else. If we slow down that process, maybe they're even going to drink less. I don't know. But I think where we're at now, I think we can handle it. I did have a question. Maybe you can answer this for me. What was the reasoning behind going from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. and not 12 to 3 or something like that? Because it's going to get kind of confusing if it turns 12:01 and suddenly people aren't allowed to go from place to place.
I agree.
So.
Dylan, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, number that was
We
put out
just-
there as an option and everybody.
I'm just throwing it out. When I was reading it, I saw it.
Yeah.
A few typos, but other than that, that's what I saw. That was my only concern about it. But I think we can handle it.
And other cities have done that.
Yeah.
So from 12 to 12. So,
Okay.
so we try to emulate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
And
Any other questions for me?
So what you're saying is establishments to stay open until 3 a.m.
Some do, sure.
Is that what they do?
After 1 or
12.
12 o'clock,
Yeah.
they won't be able to.
Transfer.
Okay, okay.
True.
they have to
Make
stay
sure-
put.
Have someone.
Just
Have
make
to
sure
stay
everybody's on
put.
the same page.
Right, exactly.
This
Go
is a
ahead,
gentleman
Mr.
is from
Bass.
Yorktown. They have a
Hang on,
Dora.
Ms. Powell,
I'm sorry.
would you please?
Yes.
Mr. Basson's.
Well, I was just going to clarify, even if we approve it, it still needs to be approved by the Indiana Alcohol Tobacco Commission, correct? And is that a foregone conclusion? Is there any concern about that at all? Anybody? Do we know?
Can I speak on this?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, Chase Bruton. I'm the Yorktown town manager. We actually passed the second DORA in the state. So somehow I have become the DORA expert and have now
Great.
been giving
Glad to have you
advice
here.
to other communities. So you're welcome. I think the 12 o'clock time actually came from our ordinance. So sorry for that, or you're welcome, either way. But we implemented it this year. The reason we implemented a DORA was because we were having some trouble just with our concerts, not with alcohol being served, but having to put up fencing every time and do those sort of things. People really didn't know where the line was, where they could walk into the parking lot, those sort of things. And so we have not seen a large increase in alcohol consumption during our concerts. We haven't had any real problems with it. The 4 businesses that are included in it have been very responsible. They understand the rules of, hey, you can't walk outside with a glass bottle, those sort of things. So they've been kind of self-policing themselves there, but we have not had a single incident in our DORA that was alcohol related this year. So I'd be happy for any questions or concerns if I could be of any help. Just trying to be a friendly neighbor.
That question I just asked, is that,
It does have to be approved by.
It's pretty easy if you jump through all the hoops. They just want an ordinance.
okay.
Anyone
Thank you.
else from the council? Anyone else from the audience? Roll call, please.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Selby?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
No.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Gillian?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
No.
No.
Ordinance 26-24.
Ordinance 27.
These are new.
We're on the new ones.
27-24.
Ordinance 27-24, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R3 Residence Zone to the BV Variety Business Zone for parcel number 11-01-379-007-000 and parcel number 11-01-379-010-000, located within the 3700 block of East Centennial Avenue, Muncie, Indiana.
Is there a motion to introduce
moved.
27-24?
I'll second that.
Okay. Anyone here to speak on this tonight?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Van Ice, and I'm from Ashton Land Surveyor here in Muncie. These parcels of land that we're bringing before you tonight right now have a pole barn sitting on them. And in the R3 zone, I need a house or another structure for it to be in compliance. We have gone before the commissioners, and the reason I am here tonight is to plead our case. The owner of this property had the adjoining property had said that they had a little problem with the people who were fixing up the barn when they sited it and stuff. Some people drove what he believed was across his property. We have since made sure it was staked. It now has a fence, a privacy fence all the way around. I have pictures if you'd like to see them, that do block so that nobody will make the entrance at the wrong spot. There's a new gravel driveway that makes it very, very clear on where to enter and exit the property. So, but the whole goal in this is to change it to a variety business. The owner of the property does buy homes, remodel them, and then sells them. I call that a flipper, but that's my slang. But what her whole goal is to be able to use that building in the back as like her staging for, bring in the flooring or whatever. And then as she's fixing up a house, being able to move the stuff back off. So I'm not seeing this as a real retail, but it needs to be zoned variety business to be able to do this. So I don't foresee a lot of traffic, but it's going to be more, but this is now what it does appear, she has done, Donna Drake has done a great job in trying to establish it so that so that the owner in front does not feel that their backyard's being invaded upon.
Can you stand closer, please?
Sure. I'd be glad to send them all to.
So can you tell us, we see that this was received a 7-0 unfavorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Yes. Why was that?
The owner in the front he stood up and did complain in that meeting about how that the owner of the property, when it was being remodeled in behind him, which is that barn, the pole barn, felt like he was people had pulled across his septic system because the entrance was not clear in his opinion. So that's when we made sure as a surveying company that we showed the exact corners and gave her line stakes so she could put a fence up to alleviate that. But also with this, if there is any future design or future building, there are development standards that she would have to comply with, not me personally. She would have to comply with. This is Donna Drake from Drake Properties. And in that, there would have to be more of a buffer zone, which would mean not just the fence, but kind plantings and stuff to kind of screen it from a residential. So.
Is that the one out there, Centennial in the bypass?
Just real close,
Is
yes.
that guy wanting to put a semi-tanker place in out there?
The guy that is right there on the corner is a semi-tanker that's already variety business. Okay, this is to the west of it. It's a small home that's just his west adjoiner. And then to the north of it is a barn that used to be an old dilapidated gray barn, but now it's the red barn that's in the pictures. And then behind it's just grass. It's open field.
Is it the same guy that owns the tanker place wanting to buy that?
He had made an offer, but he has personal issues have made it so finances are not there for him right now. So I'm not sure he has made an offer, but it's also right now it's kind of tabled for his own personal reasons.
Well, it was my understanding that nobody wanted to a semi tanker place out there, like a cleanup for semis and stuff like that out there.
And he's to the east. That's what
Yep,
we,
if he's wanting to buy it, he's wanting to expand.
he had wanted to, he's not now. She is the current owner, and her goal now, and what her goal, her thoughts are, her desire is to be able to use this as like her own staging where flooring would be delivered or whatever as she is remodeling.
Yeah. I've got a problem with, hazardous waste being cleaned up or whatever out there. I don't know if it's hazardous waste or whatever it is, but when you get tankers, semi-tankers involved, you got a mess out there.
Right.
And he's probably right. He's probably cutting into his yard with the semis.
Semis are the east adjoiner to this property. It's pre-existing property that's owned by the guy that owns the semi-tankers. We are the west and north adjoiner. Okay, does that make, do you need can I show you on a, oh yes, she has a good copy. This is the semi-owner. This is the man who filed the complaint. This is where that.
This is 13th Street.
Oh, this is not him. This is him.
That's what we got.
Yep. So this is the 2008 is the house that we're.
Anybody else from the council got a question? Mr. Basham?
And yet 7-0 from the
Yes.
planning commission, that's every member voting, is a
Yes.
significant red flag.
And I'll be honest with you, I felt like I needed a second chance to explain that her goal is not to destroy this man's property around his house. And that's part of the reason in her due diligence, she immediately put the fence up to prevent any more damage or any more person coming through his property.
So
Okay, so these other little improvement that they did, was that before you went to the planning commission or after?
The fence is after.
Okay,
The barn, in fact, she's the one who purchased the original home
okay,
and remodeled it and actually sold it to the person who came to complain.
okay,
He's the very person that she sold it to.
okay.
So she had remodeled that house for him.
Mr. Dishman, this question is for you. You're on the planning commission, correct? What I would like to see if it's feasible and if it's possible for her to go back to the planning commission with the improvement, and if you guys can vote on it and come back to us, would that be acceptable to you and just to be fair to everyone?
Well, you can go back to the planning commission.
Yeah.
But I'm still got a problem with the tankers being out there.
Correct. And that offer is off the table at this time. Like I said, he has personal issues that he cannot finance purchasing it. And the owner of the
But he always
property,
can.
say that again?
Later on, he always can buy that.
Well, I can ask her if she's even interested in selling to him. Her new thoughts are not going in that direction. Because right now, she is wanting to use that facility, that barn. But she has no lease on it right now and has no contract on it right now.
I would really recommend that again, that for you to go back to the planning commission, think about other improvements you can do. Talk to the neighbors, figure something out and go back, because right now with the way the planning commission voted and what we're hearing, I think it would be best if you go back to the planning commission and go from there and come back to us.
Kylene Swackhammer, Director of the Plan Commission. So I can just add a little bit to that. I'm not a voting member of the Plan Commission Board, so I can't speak on why or how they voted. But they do take into account when there's opposition. But our office did receive the email of opposition from the landowner in front of the property. And it was mainly things that were currently going on as far as going onto his property. So there's no current development on the site. There's not any plans for current development. The barn as it sits there is not in compliance with the zoning ordinance being on a residential lot. You are not supposed to have an accessory structure without a home, a dwelling. So changing the zoning to BV would fix that problem. The semi company that you're talking about to the east, this area right here, he's variety business right now. So he can do that business there as is currently. So there's nothing stopping him from doing that. And that kind of butts up right against this property. So he's allowed to do that right now. So he's not in any violation. If there was some type of illegal dumping or something, that might be an IDEM problem or an environmental thing. But I just kind of wanted to mention, I think some of the opposition was the current things that were going on.
There at one time, they was dumping out there.
Mhm.
And
And I think that would
they
be
cleaned it
something
up.
maybe to report him as a business owner.
Yeah.
Maybe not doing things properly or getting environmental involved.
Yeah. Ms. Shelley.
Yeah, one more. I'm honestly trying to give you another chance. I am afraid that if you don't accept the offer to go back, this might be, I personally am not very comfortable voting yes. How about that? So this for the third time and last time, I'm just saying the best thing you could do is going back to the planning commission, make more changes, and make other changes and take your time with it. But if you would like for us to vote on it today, that's a chance you'll take.
Mr. Gibson, would
Introduction, yeah.
it be appropriate to table this until it has an opportunity to go back through the planning commission to see if the changes they've made?
You would need to introduce it first.
Okay, but yes, the table, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's up to her client, but I think that would just entail another application to the plan commission, and then we could process that after she did that.
The barn that's on the property now, was that put on, is this before the house was tore down? The structure was tore down or after?
So it was before the ordinance, so it's
Okay.
basically non-conforming as is, so it's existing.
Okay, all right, I
So-
just want, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That was my question.
Yeah, it wasn't built in non-compliance, it was
Okay,
already
all right,
existing.
thank you.
President Dishman,
Yes.
I have a question for you. The individual that had filed the complaint, have they changed in their opinion since you've put up the fence and did the things that you have?
Have you spoken to him? I'd like to have someone who has spoken to him talk to it.
Hi, I'm Zach Crouch. I am actually a pretty good friend of Donna Drake and Drake Properties. Anthony was his name. He's a gentleman who lives in the front house that he had purchased off of Donna Drake. So I'm not sure what happened in the past, but we have taken extensive precautions to make sure that it does not happen again by putting in a privacy fence. We've put in, it's completely landscaped to the back. I mean, it is truly a changed property from the worst to the better. But I have spoke with the landowner several times, and as far as I'm concerned, he's pretty happy with the improvements on that. He's not here, so I can't speak for him, but I can speak that we're taking all precautions to make sure that he's happy with living there. I know that he just had his family. He's married. He has a small child. Just delivered another child, and we want to make sure that they're happy just as well as we're happy. But we also want to be in the correct zoning for that. So that is where I'm at on that. But we did put a privacy fence up. We made sure that Ashton's came out, did proper zoning. But again, we do want to make sure that we are in perfect alliance with that. And Mr. Dishman, if I may speak to you, as far as you keep bringing up a tanker or a semi situation, I'm not sure about that, but I do know that, again, like Kathy had said, his funding is not there. And I am sure that we could draw up something saying that we will not sell to that individual if you're afraid of that continuing to happen. So I'd be more than happy to bring that up, and I'm sure that we could do that. I'm not sure why it was voted 7-0, other than it did have a complaint. But Ms. Selby, we have done everything to justify the betterment of that.
There's been a lot of equipment just setting out there, rusting,
And that is to the east of us.
leaking all over the ground out there. And I know it's been sold because that guy from farmland used to have it out there.
Yeah, and that I'm not sure of. I just know that that's not us.
And he let a lot of equipment set out there and drain on the ground, leak all over the ground. And I see a tanker company coming in there wanting to, a lot of tanker companies do their own cleaning on the properties, and I sure don't want that all over that ground out there.
No, and as it sits, it went from pretty much a hay field to a decently nice mowed property, and I can guarantee that she would not sell to any company that is going to be destructive in that matter. So we want those people to be happy. We don't want them to regret moving here. They came from, I believe he said, I believe Noblesville or Indy, if I'm not mistaken. But, he moved to Muncie, to Delaware County to raise his family. And we want to make sure that he's happy with that decision.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Mr. Mason?
Yeah, approximately how many residents are in close proximity of this zoning?
This young man that's down on the road is our first one, and there'd be a house to the west. Other than that, there is a house down on the south side of the road, but there's not a lot of houses in this area, no.
Okay, and all those people have been,
They were notified, and like Ms. Selvey said, we'd be willing to go back, they were notified by the mailings that are required to go before the commission.
Anyone else?
Mr. Dishman, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us to help us?
Well, I've got a problem with, stuff leaking contaminants on the ground. This town's already full of contaminants like Borg Warner, Chevy, and nobody wants to clean them up. If this guy goes bankrupt, who's going to go out there and clean that property up? I think there's a big pond out there too that could leak into. And,
Mr. Dishman, that I'm not sure, but I can guarantee that without a doubt that none of that would take place on her property. And as far as I can't speak for him, but that would be something to address with him. But unfortunately, it would not be with us. I can give you my word that this property would never sell to something like that. So we're as green friendly as we can.
I'd like to see you go back to the planning commission.
Yes.
And maybe that guy that lives next door, maybe he can give us his blessing then.
Yep.
Because it would be the one to the south of that. But there is a fence put up now, and there will be greenery or shrubbery or whatever planted to ensure that continues to look nice.
Unless you'd rather us vote tonight.
No. I mean,
You probably wouldn't want us to vote tonight.
This is just introduction. This is
Yeah,
just
that's just
I know it is.
Mr. Disney. Miss Lacy, thank you. You did send us a copy of the letter that the homeowner sent to us. So reading it, I've read it twice, and it's just concerning, you know what I mean? Especially if it's 1 out of 3 houses, that's, so that is significant. So we can't say it's like 1 house out of 100, right? So 3 houses is 33% people not happy. But the letter was very touching, and he had some great concerns. So I wish he was here. I wish you brought him here just to get his approval. But maybe if you go back or get a letter from him saying, that everything is kosher, then we'll go from there.
And Ms. Selby,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I never received that letter. I don't know.
I did not either.
Yeah. So as far as complaints go, I can't fix something I don't know about.
Okay. Can you give him a copy? Okay. 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 Okay.
And then get that with Kathy then. Oh, okay. I apologize.
Okay. Huh?
Oh.
Yes,
It was to
I have
the
a
Plan
copy of that.
Commission one?
Yes.
Okay.
But he has came outside and we've spoken in great detail. I mean, so I do feel he had the option to be here tonight because I'm sure he was notified, but
Thank you.
Do you want us to table it tonight? Till you get with those people?
Mr. Dishman.
Did you want them to us to table it tonight so you can get with that person so we can come back next month?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
We need to introduce
it first. We need to move.
Yeah. All in favor for introduction.
Okay. Is there a motion to introduce? Huh?
It's either an email back to everybody through Colleen and everybody or a letter.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. I would like to, go ahead, President.
I'll make a motion that we table it till next month.
Second.
I have one more question. I apologize. On how do you want to receive his blessing? Do you want him to email you or the planning commission to?
I'd like for him to get with the planning commission.
Okay.
And
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That way we are moving forward.
if she can get a letter from him, I prefer him to be here. But,
yeah.
But if she can get a letter from him, that'd be okay.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Roll call, please. On the withdrawal.
On the table.
On the table.
Help me here. I need to know what we're voting on.
Table.
Tabling?
Table it.
Table.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
No.
Ms. Selby?
Yes.
Ms. Billions?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
President District?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll see you next month then, okay?
I have another one on the next one.
There we go.
Ordinance 28-24.
Ordinance 28-24. This ordinance seeks to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Code to change the zoning classification for certain properties on 13th Street from the R4 residence zone to the variety business zone.
Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 28-24?
So moved.
Or second?
I'll second that.
That's why I didn't know what to do with myself because I didn't know where to sit. Again, I'm back. I'm Kathy from Ashton Land Surveyor. On this property, we have a business that's been in this location for more than 50 years. And it is currently zoned R4. We are trying to get it to variety business. Their properties are currently, with them being an R4, they went to they started to go to a closing table to sell the properties and the business to another entity, just to find out that the banks would not allow lending without it being in the right zoning.
Mhm.
So they've had to table the closing or stop the closing just so we could try to get this into the right zoning. It's currently, like I said, the R4, but there are no homes on this property. The GIS reflects one structure, but it has been taken down. It is gone. So the business is all on the east properties. It's both on 13th and 14th Street, but we have gone through, we do have favorable in this time voting on this one, but I don't know what else to tell you. This is a situation where they're trying to keep it going forward, the business staying at the same as what it's been, and they're just trying very hard to get in the right zoning.
Is this the heating and cooling place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone from the audience want to talk about this? Anybody from the council?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to speed this one up a little bit quicker than the last one. This has been in my district. I remember riding my bike there as a kid. So all the residents around here are used to, I believe it was favorable because we're all used to a business being there. It's always been there. I want to speak and thank you for already having someone on the hook to buy this. I don't want this lot to go vacant or this sale to fall through. I wanted to try to get as much business on the south side of town as possible. So I read through this, favorable through the planning commission. I was going to suggest that we suspend the rules to vote on this tonight, since we already have an offer on the table, so we don't lose what we've already got on the hook. So I would like, I thank you, but I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules to vote on this tonight, so we do not lose this property, and that we don't go vacant.
You made the motion.
I would introduce first,
And then,
then make
Okay.
that motion. That would require a unanimous vote,
Mhm.
and then you would actually vote on the adoption after that if it passes. Let's start with the introduction.
I'll make a motion to introduct.
It's already been-
Oh, sorry.
Seconded it. Harold, okay. Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Selby.
yes.
Mr. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Basham,
Yes.
President Dishman.
Yes.
9 yes.
I'd also like to make a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance 28-24.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Basham,
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh,
Yes.
Ms. Selby,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. Basham, President Dishman,
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank-
Now you need to, that was just to suspend the rules.
Yeah.
Consider it for adoption tonight, so now you need to have a motion to adopt.
Need a motion to adopt.
I so move.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Ms. Selby.
Yes.
Ms. Nolan.
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Basham,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
President Dishman.
Yes.
9
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ordinance 29-24.
Ordinance 29-24, an ordinance of the City of Muncie, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the City of Muncie, Indiana, placing the same within corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the City of Muncie, Indiana. Annexation Area Number 1, portions of Farmington neighborhood.
Is there a motion to introduce 29-24?
I so move.
Second.
Anyone here wishing to talk on that tonight?
I'm sorry.
Anyone from the audience wishing to talk on this tonight? Oh,
Good evening, council.
Good evening, Mayor.
I will say that 29, as you know, 29, 30, 31, and 32 are all annexation documents. We might be able to answer several of the questions at the same time. They're all in the same area, the last two of which are voluntary. They asked for those annexations. These first two are not, but they're directly adjacent to. We have some financial experts here today and legal to hopefully be able to guide you through the process. So if you guys want to come up, at least they can go through what they have done. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Nick Kyle. I'm a lawyer with Barnes and Thornburg. As the mayor said, you've got 4 ordinances in front of you. Tonight is really the first step in the process before the council on annexation. There, as the mayor said, 2 of these are what we call super voluntary. All of them will go through a process, but it's more abbreviated with a super voluntary. You have to introduce, which would be tonight. You will adopt a fiscal plan, which Mr. Treat has prepared. We've tried to save some paper and put all 4 ordinances covered by one fiscal plan. So there's one resolution for all 4 of those. But then after tonight, there would be public hearings scheduled. On the super voluntary annexations, the public hearings would be scheduled next month. You have to wait at least 20 days before you can have the public hearing on, excuse me, on those. The non-super voluntary, it's a 60-day notice period. So it would be a public hearing in January. And then you will adopt the super voluntary, the meeting after the public hearing, and you would adopt the non-super voluntary if you so choose to adopt the meeting after the public hearing there. And then for the super voluntary, it's a very abbreviated process for it to take effect because there really is no remonstrance opportunity. There is a remonstrance period on the other two that is basically a 90-day period. Happy to answer any questions about the process, what will happen, but it's essentially for all four ordinances, it's a 3-step process. Tonight, public hearing, and then final action.
Any questions from the council?
I have a couple of questions, if I may, President Dishman. Have you had any public meetings at all yet?
We have had 6 public meetings, answered quite a few questions. They were held in different locations. They were noticed. Everybody got a notice in certified mail. They were also published in the paper. Quite a bit of participation from the public. We answered questions. Mayor, I didn't sense any real opposition in those public meetings at all. In fact, one of those public meetings, I think a bunch of people signed a petition afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's the one I was at. It was very professionally handled, great questions and answers, and people seem to be in agreement. Now, those petitions, just remind us again, I'm sorry, President Dishman, I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's all right. The council's restless tonight. I just wish the council would come through the chair before they start talking.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You can go ahead.
No.
Didn't Councilman Green have that was his question? Did you have?
That was my question. And I wanted to ask if you had opposition from the public meetings that you had, and you pretty much answered
I
that.
don't recall any opposition. I can't tell you everybody was yay rah, but I don't recall anybody saying they were opposed to it or.
Okay. Were all the, if I can continue questions, were there notices sent out to all the property owners?
Yes.
Did you receive those back yet? In response to the notices, did they come back with emails, letters, or anything of that nature?
I'm going to have to turn to the mayor with whether or not the city has received any response.
Okay.
We did, I think we had three public members. One actually came to the office and we answered their questions. So we provided them the copies of the fiscal plan. We also did that at the public meetings. That was one of the things. Some of the people who, one of the persons was not even in the district area, but had heard about it. And so we did have, there were very few questions, but we were able to answer them. They were asking things about, like, does it change your school system? And it does not. Annexations never do. So that was the type of questions, but mostly they wanted to see the fiscal plan and see what was going on.
Yeah, Mayor. I was at the one at the Kennedy branch that Friday.
Yes.
And the main thing kept coming up is our taxes are going to be raised. You told them unless your assessed value goes up. Is their assessed value going to go up?
Well, I know.
Because they're hoping their taxes don't go up.
Yeah, so what was, and I can have the financial advisor say, but I can't say whether their assessed value will go up. I know mine went up this year, so my taxes are going up next year, but that I suppose that's a positive. Yeah. But the tax rate, every single property involved was already at the cap. So their tax cap, they can't be taxed above that. So not one person involved in these this small section will have an increased tax bill from the annexation. They could have an increased tax bill if their assessed value goes up, but if they stay where they are and don't get annexed, they'll still have that tax increase. But it's based on the assessed value, not the annexation.
So the taxes could go up.
The taxes could go, and probably will, because house values, I don't know about everybody, but mine continues to, as inflation hits, the value of homes has tended to go up. Now, if the assessed value goes down, then their taxes could drop as well. And again, that has nothing to do with whether they're annexed or not. When you're at the tax cap, then that's what happens. Did you want to add to that?
I think you made it pretty clear.
Okay.
Jim Tree with Cronin Associates were the financial firm that provided the fiscal plan. So again, and we made it very clear to the residents just what the mayor explained, but the assessment is determined by the assessor. And it doesn't have anything to do with whether in the corporate limits or not of the city. So a lot of people, as has been expressed, have experienced because of the residential or the market values going up so much, increases in their taxes that are at the cap. But whatever happens on that will happen regardless of whether this neighborhood's annexed or not. And there was a lot of interest at the meetings. There really weren't that many financial questions because they understood they were at the cap already. And most of the questions were the interest in knowing what the services were that they were going to provide, be received, that they don't currently have, better police and fire protection, and the road maintenance issues that they're trying to resolve with the county, that they now, if they get annexed, will have a chance to get the city to address those issues. So those are the kind of things that we talked about mainly, were the enhanced city services that they would see.
Mrs. Snow?
I am really excited to see this. I like the fact that we're adding real property to the boundaries of our city, and this will help growth and development, and I think it'll benefit the citizens of Muncie a lot. So could you, I don't know if the mayor should add, or one of you, tell me about how is it going to affect local economic development and grants for community development? How is the annexation going to help bring more money to the city? And if you can hit on EMS, and you send us a letter saying that EMS is going to be receiving 100,000.
Well, I would have Deputy Chief come up
Okay.
for
Could you answer
that
that
portion,
first
but
part
that's
about-
what was estimated.
Thank you. Could you please, local economic development, how's that going to affect it, and community development grants?
Okay, so let me just explain, and just so that the public is aware that there are 4 sections, and I'm going to start with number 4, which is a voluntary. So their board voted this is Westminster Village. We already, in the city limits, the Westminster villas are already in the city limits.
Okay.
So they have all the services that are provided, but Westminster Village was concerned, talked with us mainly because of fire districts, and they were concerned about volunteer fire departments, and they have a very expensive building, and sometimes they have patients that need EMS services. That estimated of 100,000 would be fees that the EMS through Fund 104 that you guys are responsible for would receive. That's the estimated amount based on the number of calls. We're able to see through 911 how many EMS calls currently have happened there. And that's a kind of an estimate of what we anticipate. So Westminster wanted this for police and fire protection. That's why they asked for it. They know that will improve their property insurance rates. It's a large building. I'm assuming a pretty large property insurance bill. And so because, and maybe the deputy chief can do this, but because we are a full-time fire department and have I believe a 4 rating, volunteer departments, I don't believe ever have better than 8. They could be worse than that, but that will be a substantial savings in their property and casualty insurance premiums. So that was another reason. They want the protection of police and fire. We have 2 fire stations in the area. The time to get to those stations was determined to be it was quicker than what they would get from the volunteers. So that's number 1. So where that benefits us is that revenue.
Okay.
Where, and again, there's some other property that go along with it. They're doing all the parcels, as you can see. There could be some other things down the road, but who knows? That's what they're annexing. The parcel number 3 on your list, which is also voluntary, the city of Muncie already owns. This was given to us by Ball State University. It was part of, they were pleased with what was going on at Storer Estates and that development. They want more of their employees to live and work, to live in Muncie. And there are too many, they feel, that don't have enough opportunities for additional housing. And so they gave us those 12 acres. Those are currently on its east side is Camelot and that addition. That's in the city limits. South of it is Heath Farm, and that's in the city limits. West of it, the city limits go all the way to Morrison. So it's surrounded pretty much by city property, and we need that in order to do the developments that we want to do. Ball State gave us that property with the intent that we would put in a subdivision similar to what we did at Storer Estates. So that would be an economic development. If you add 15 to 20 new properties, that will provide property tax revenues. The school is excited about it because I talked with them. They were excited about it because that area is inside Muncie City Schools. And so they would get not only property tax revenue, but they would also receive per student revenue from the state. So they were excited about that as well. They all know that that's way down the road. I may not even be here by the time it all starts, but that's way down the road because you have to build the subdivision. You have to find a developer, build the subdivision, then you can build the houses. But they were excited about that opportunity. That's the other one that's voluntary. Directly to the west of those 12 acres is a section in Center Township that already receives fire protection because we have an agreement with the Center Township trustee. So they already receive fire protection. But what they do not receive, because they're not in the city limits, are many other services, which includes, if you're in the city limits, we have an agreement with the water company to where there will be a fire hydrant every 500 feet. So there could be water hydrants, there can be other things. And so that section of homes, which is around 60, you guys have the numbers in front of you. I don't know it in front of me, but that small section of homes, all inside Center Township. We didn't go into the other school system at all. We stayed in Center Township there. That's the second section that is not voluntary. We have had no opposition. In fact, I have 5 pages of names of people who have said, we want this annexation, who have attended these public meetings, and a number of others who weren't at the public meetings, but expressed positive thoughts about being part of the city. And there was and again, there's concern about the lack of fire hydrants. Again, it's county currently, but it is Center Township. They would get police protection, which they don't currently receive as well. And then there was concern about Orin Court. We heard that every time. Every meeting, there's apparently a street that they had asked the county to look at. The county said, we'll look at it, but I'm sure they had to put it on their schedule and it hasn't been done yet. So they were asking about that one. So they were excited about the potential of the street department here locally, maybe looking at that local street. It's a small little court, probably only 8 or 9 homes on it, but so that's and then the fourth one, which is which is second on your list, is Heron Point. We already have half of Heron Point is already in the city limits, so those citizens are already receiving full benefits, and that's the condos out in front. That is already in the city limits. Across that little pond are houses that are not in the city limits, and we had a number of people from that neighborhood reach out who said, you're already serving there, can we take advantage of it? And their challenge is they are not in Center Township, and therefore they are not receiving, they want Muncie Fire and Muncie Police is one of the main things. And they're all maxed out in their tax caps.
Mayor, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Is this something we can afford right off the bat? Because, you're talking extra policemen, extra firemen, extra street department, and in this Well, I've heard is you guys just canceled the police and fire's negotiation until next month, and the city workers haven't even got their contract for a year. Can we even afford it after we do these contracts?
The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. In fact, we did the runs on all of those particular properties, all 4 of them, and very easily handled. But I can let police and fire speak to that if they would like.
How many more extra police and extra firemen would you have to have?
We'll start with fire, since you're up there.
We won't have to add any staffing to cover these areas at this time. When we're up,
Not even with a medic?
when we're up to full staffing in the slower months, with the new recruits that just came on, we're hoping to staff a medic 7 most of the time through the fall and winter. And then we can go from the numbers that we generate from that to see. But we cover a lot of that area anyways, and it'll average about 2 runs a day that it'll add to our run load.
But this is something I take seriously if you got the right adequate personnel to handle the job, because we're stressed now because we can't hire people because no one wants to work for us because we can't pay them enough. And how we
We'll take as many people as you want to give us.
I know we take many people, but nobody wants to work for the wages he does. Yeah, we're underpaid for this city compared to other cities.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on speaking this tonight. I'm sorry, ma'am.
She's not, can't talk right now.
Okay. All right. Well, again, Chief Sloan, Muncie Police.
Well, I got the floor right now. I got the floor. I
Yes,
haven't
sir.
recognized her yet.
Yeah, we looked at I don't have the figures in front of me, but it was like 16 or 18 months for all these areas, and it generated for us like 72 calls. So, and they were, a burglar alarm or, a minor theft or something, no major calls in that time frame. Not to say that there couldn't be, but I don't anticipate. I mean, we take anywhere from 45 to 50,000 calls a year, and we're talking about 72 calls. I'm not concerned about it at all. I think we can handle it.
Well, I'm all for annexation. Don't get me wrong. All I care about is if we got the man staffing.
Yep.
And the fire staffing and the street department, because they got to go out there and plow the streets.
I think it's great questions.
Yeah.
And I think, but we have done our due
We gotta
diligence
have
here.
more equipment to do that. We got to have the medic, another medic
Right.
for
And
7 and.
from their perspective, I mean, now they're not just getting county coverage, right? Because they're still in Delaware County, but now they're in the city as well. And now we're responding. So now you get 2 agencies responding to the same area. So I think it's a good thing.
I'm sorry.
Are you next?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
that's fine.
thank you. Could you answer the original question that I asked the mayor about the 100,000 that is going in that 104 fund?
I don't have those numbers in front of me. Chief Burford's done a lot of that. I know they want us out there in their areas. Like I said, we cover a lot of Farmington and Heron Point now. Westminster, they want our services.
Okay.
I know it's going to save them a lot of money. And ISO rating's going to drop from a 9 to a 4 with the city service. So that's huge for them. The 100,000 that's coming towards us, I can't speak on that tonight.
Okay. Mayor, I still don't have, I think, Mayor, you referred that question to the fire, correct? You said let the fire speak about that 100.
I received that number from Chief Burford.
Okay.
I have the numbers with me a little bit too. Jason Chafin, Union President, Muncie, 1348. So Westminster is about 283 calls per year. Going to the EMS calls just out of the villas, out of the nursing home. Estimated, through most of those are Medicare, Medicaid plus, obviously older people. So that would generate anywhere from between $100,000 and $150,000 just in EMS revenue. Low end is the 100,000 is what they were using on the low end. Most of those patients have Medicare plus, which is like because they had a factory retirement or something. That's one of the more expensive nursing homes. So probably more. That's a very conservative number. The 100,000, probably more like 150. And yes, we want Medic 7 to go with that because when we get Medic 7, that's not going to just give us the coverage that to that nursing home, but then it allows Medic 5 to stay in what we call the red zone, which is the Northwest Muncie, instead of having to go out north of McGalliard. So that when we can get the staffing, and again, we don't need to hire necessarily more people. We just need to have more people on duty per day, which the new recruits like Chief Andy, Nine just said, will help get us to that manpower daily number that allows us to have Medic 7 staff daily, which will then not just provide better coverage for Westminster than they're getting from, wherever they're getting their services now, out of Gaston, wherever. But then it'll give the whole north side of Muncie, north of McGalliard, in between Walnut and all the way to Menards, on Nebo. That whole area will get much better coverage as well when we can have Medic 7 open daily. And I think this annexation, that money coming in, is going to help with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Chief Nindy, I just had a question because I had a resident in Kenmore had the question of whether or not the runs out to Westminster will tie up services that would normally go in that area. Do you foresee that being a problem?
I don't foresee it being a problem. Like I said, it averages 2 calls a day.
Okay.
We're very taxed now the way it is, but we can handle it.
And will
especially if we have the Medic 7 staffed.
Okay. And will that staffing fully like that, those 22 that just came on, that will actually not generate any more overtime because those you're now fully
Correct.
staffed? Okay.
Correct. We have a minimum staffing per day, and where we had so much problem with overtime was because we were short so many people that we weren't keeping up to that minimum number. Now that we have the extra guys on the floor, that helps cover vacations and all that, we have more people available every day. So.
Thank you, sir. Really quickly. And this is for Mayor Ridenour. Mayor Ridenour, is there a link to the public meeting that we can share so for others on our social media? Is there a link to the public meeting?
No, there is not.
Okay. And then last one, sir. Westminster Village, is that a not-for-profit?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the income that we'll be receiving will only be generated via the runs that will be, because we won't be receiving any property tax from that.
That is correct. There are some small fees, but a lot that might benefit other areas. But
Do they currently pay a pilot a donation to the fire department? Okay.
No.
And then the Ball State property, is that a tax exempt property as well?
It is because it's city owned. Yeah.
And then it will remain tax exempt until we find a buyer and a developer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Basham?
Yes, I'd like to, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to return to the fiscal plan that you submitted. I just need clarification. So if I recognize that property taxes go to fund 7 government entities, is that correct? 7? And so if I'm a property tax, if I'm a property owner and I pay $1,000,
right?
My $1,000 would go to those 7 entities, and adding Muncie would just add the 8th entity. Right. So I would be dividing my tax dollars among 8 government entities, and nobody is going to lose taxes because of this. Am I correct?
No, that is not correct. It does take the same tax amount from the taxable residential properties that we're focusing on tonight, and it redistributes it.
But they won't be left out at all.
No, they won't be left out.
Right, that's what I meant to say.
But the additional, and it's in the last page of the illustration in the fiscal plan does show, that's a real important part of this, to show not just the effects on the homeowners or the property owners, but on the overlapping taxing units. There will be some shift of property taxes that they currently receive that will go to the city to fund these services to the city. So there will be some trade-offs for them. Now, in all those cases, the amount that we're talking about is very immaterial to their current property tax levy. We also looked at that.
Sure.
Not that every dollar doesn't count, but I think that's one thing that we have looked at. So that's how that would work, Counselor. That it's a reapportionment, it's a shift of the existing property tax payments that you.
May I follow up, Mr. President? So is my math correct that perhaps if we annex all 4 pieces, we might stand to gain about $200,000 or maybe even more?
Yes, and right, based on what they're paying this year. Now, you wouldn't get property taxes for a couple of years out, but what they're paying this year, it's about $230,000 in taxes. So the city would get about 45% of that amount, and that would be redistributed amongst the county, the sanitary district, the school, the township. There's an effect on the township, but they're not providing fire services anymore, so that would change their cost as well. Does that?
It does.
Help somewhat, yeah.
Clarifies it. Thank you.
Does that area, do they have sanitary district out there?
Yes, they're all in the sanitary district, the Muncie Sanitary District.
Like I said, I'm all for annexation, but I want to make sure, because I know we got the police department, fire department are excellent. I have no qualms with them. And our street department guys, they're the best. So I know we can handle that part of it. We just got to make sure we got enough manpower and enough wages to keep our people from not leaving us. And we got those 3 contracts, and it just scares me to death what's going to happen there. You know, we should have had those contracts done and over with, but anyway, that's all I got to say. Anyway,
Just for clarification, sir, you said there's currently $230,000 being collected in property taxes, and we would get 45% of that, which is about $103,000.
Yes. What's that? Wait a minute. No.
Our percent.
230.
Yeah, that's what the city would be.
Oh, yeah, the city would receive 230,000.
200. Okay.
Mhm.
The 45 is that the 45% of?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Thank you.
The city's getting that.
The city is getting 230,
Plus the EMS.
Plus the MS.
Plus the EMS. Yeah, that's just
which
property
is about
taxes.
2 runs they said a day.
And then
Deputy Chief.
And we did have, this hasn't been asked. If it's appropriate, I can make another statement that kind of clarifies some more of this. We did have county officials at one of the meetings. And we have shared with them a 5-year impact beyond when this starts, so that they have that. We also had sanitary district officials there because their pie gets cut a little bit. But as we add more homes, which is the intent, all of them understood. And that's why the Muncie schools, even though they're actually going to lose a little bit with Farmington, they understand, because they're seeing what's going on, that we have a real desire to build more homes, which will mean more down the road. So it's a short-term cut for them, but a much larger gain in the end. And so that's why they were supporting.
you want Mr. Bass?
And I know this might not be an important point to make, but as these 4 areas, the residents drive into Muncie to go to the restaurant, go to a movie, have a haircut. They're driving on our roads right now. They're not currently being taxed for our roads, our streetlights, and all of those things. This gives us an opportunity to retrieve some of that money to repave and from the citizens driving into Muncie, and now they're a part of Muncie and paying taxes.
They pay gasoline tax.
Well,
And a wheel tax.
Sure.
So they're paying their fair share.
But I'm just saying that it allows us to retrieve some of those, pay for some of those services.
Yeah, and there are additional MVH and LRS distributions that the city will receive as well, used on the road, based on the road miles and the per capita, the population.
Anyone else from the council?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. One more request. Was there a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF presentation that we could, just so that we can get information out? I would send it to my neighborhood association president. That was the only thing that was.
Not my strength. No, there wasn't. I stand up there and talk.
Right.
So, sorry.
Anyone from the audience?
Elizabeth Edgell. Might understand that these communities, these areas, got a hold of the city because they wanted better services. And then I'm hearing that they've already been really covered anyway with these services. They weren't really, if they don't have 2 calls a day, they weren't really in any need of better services because they all stated that they were already getting some of those services, even though they weren't paying for them. And this came, and yes, I'm sure every legality was addressed in as far as the public meetings. However, I can tell you as Delaware County Community Awareness, with almost 32,000 people in it, no one knew about this at all. Matter of fact, my reporter, Rick Yenser, broke the story. And he just happened to be here in the city building when that happened. I wonder if the declining population here in the last, well, since 2020 has anything to do with the fact that I wonder how many people, I believe that the newspaper put an exact number of how many people you're going to be adding to the population. And that was mentioned in the story, which hasn't been mentioned here at all. And that's kind of interesting. And lastly, $230,000. And we are going to have to man that more. I mean, are you telling me that that area doesn't receive good services now? Because I live in that area. I just moved there, matter of fact. And I'm real curious to know that. And I will check the numbers. This is happening suddenly. This is happening quickly. This is happening like everything else has happened with all the city projects. And we're the last to know. And I really don't see that there's a call for it. I really don't see, other than population numbers dwindling, and that might be affecting some of the grants and whatnot that the city receives. I can't really see the boon of this quickly, this fast, so many questions you had. I had all of them. I have more even since this. And there's been 6 meetings and y'all didn't know about it? That's pretty incredible. I like to know how that happens. Thank you.
I just want to make it clear that I believe each one of these council members knew about this months and months ago. I shared it with them that we were considering this. None of them had any opposition, and so we moved forward. It's about a 1-year process, and we're in maybe month 6 of that. So all of these council members did know about it because I made sure that they were aware. So just wanted to make that clear.
President Dishman.
Oh, sorry. I just have a procedural. Ms. Powell brought up the public hearing notice. My understanding is you're going to do that because it's usually our office.
Assuming they introduce and adopt the fiscal
Okay.
plan resolution.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. Just coordinate. We usually do those before the
Yes.
meeting that you're aware of the process. Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure.
Mr. Green?
Yes, I have a question. Clarification. It was posted in the newspaper, was it not?
It was posted in the newspaper, and every property owner in the territory received via certified mail a notice of the 6 meetings.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dan, how do you think we should do this all?
Or can we?
All of them together, or?
No, I would do them separately. but
Separately?
Since you've already heard the public comment for the entire thing.
Oh, okay.
Dispense with the public comment on the other 3.
Thank you.
But since it's just for introduction, you can do voice votes. so
Sure.
you can go through them pretty quickly.
Okay.
I think the currently there's a motion to introduce 29.
Yeah.
call.
Yes.
No voice vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'd like to move that we adopt ordinance 30-24.
I'll second that.
Introduce.
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 Sorry.
Introduce.
Ordinance. Yeah.
I said introduce.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Should I still read these?
Mhm.
Okay. So read it. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ordinance 30-30 or 24, an ordinance of the city of Muncie, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the city of Muncie, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the city of Muncie, Indiana, annexation area number 2, portions of Heron Point neighborhood.
There's been a motion to introduce ordinance 30-24, and there was a second.
Already did, second. Second.
Second. Okay. Any comment on this one?
I think you've heard all the.
Yeah.
comments.
Okay.
Together, so I would just go straight into the.
Voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
All in favor?
Voice
All in favor?
Yeah.
Oh, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, the same. Okay. 31-24.
Ordinance 31-24, an ordinance of the city of Muncie, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the city of Muncie, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the city of Muncie, Indiana. Annexation area number 3, city-owned parcel near Farmington neighborhood.
Is there a motion for an introduction?
So moved.
31-24.
Second.
Second. Anyone? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ordinance 32-24.
33. Ordinance, yeah.
32.
33-24, an ordinance amending ordinance 24, sorry, I apologize. An ordinance of the city of Muncie, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the city of Muncie, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the city of Muncie, Indiana. Annexation area number 4, Westminster Village.
Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 32-24?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Ordinance 33-24.
An ordinance of amending ordinance 2423, fixing the maximum salaries of each and every appointed officer, employee, deputy, assistant, departmental, and institutional head of the city of Muncie, Indiana, included herein for the year 2025.
Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 33-24?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anyone wanting to talk from the audience on this?
Here he comes.
Good evening. This is, have 4 of them in a row, kind of like the annexation that we just went through. 33-24, 34-24, 35-24, and 36-24 are all the salary ordinances that we did. And what we did was we increased from last year, or from the salary ordinance that we sent in May. They had what we originally planned and added 1% to it. So.
Mr. Wright, will these need to be adjusted after negotiations are completed?
Pardon?
Will these need to be adjusted once negotiations are completed with the 3 unions?
No, I mean, the elected officials has to stay the same.
Right.
So.
But will there be corrections, increases?
If that comes to that, we will obviously have to make changes. Yes, we would amend them.
And that would happen after January?
If we go into after January and they have to be amended, then we'll introduce them to be amended. Yes.
Would there be objection to tabling that, or would that be, I don't want to create an obstacle for our staff to be paid. I just was trying to take out one of the steps if we pass this and then have to amend it versus tabling it and doing the correct after negotiations are over. But I don't want to interrupt or create an obstacle for our employees to get paid in January.
Yeah, I mean, arguably,
that is
you
not
have a salary ordinance in place if this wasn't adopted by.
Okay.
31.
Right.
But I did have, if I can, I did have one clarification I think needs to be made. This particular ordinance is called an ordinance to amend 24-23, which is the ordinance setting the salaries for 24. So is that what this is doing, or is it just setting the salaries for
next year?
For next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to amend the title of that.
Yes.
You can do that next month for introduction.
Okay. All right.
Make sure that was clear.
Yes.
Are we going to do these the same, all the same?
Yeah, I would just take them one at a time.
Okay.
It sounds like we can dispense with public comment if there's others that want to.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to create an obstacle.
Anybody from the
Absolutely.
council? Anybody from the council? Anybody from the audience want to talk on this tonight? Yeah, roll call, please.
Ms. Selby?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Bellman?
Yes.
Mr. Matheson?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
President Fishman?
Yes.
9 yes.
I think we could just do risk votes on this, right?
Okay, ordinance 34-24.
Ordinance 34-24, an ordinance fixing the salaries for all elected officials of the city of Muncie, Indiana for the year 2025.
Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 34-24?
I so move.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, the same? Okay, ordinance 35-24.
Ordinance 35-24, an ordinance fixing the maximum salaries of each and every member of the Muncie Police Department of the city of Muncie, Indiana for the year 2025.
Is there a motion to introduce 35-24?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same? Ordinance 36-24.
Ordinance 36-24, an ordinance fixing the maximum salaries of each and every member of the Muncie Fire Department of the city of Muncie, Indiana for the year 2025.
Is there a motion to introduce ordinance
Second.
36-24?
Second.
Mason?
Who made the motion to introduce? Who's, and you second? Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same? Ordinance 37-24.
Ordinance 37-24, an ordinance of the city of Muncie establishing Title 9, Chapter 40, Chapter 41, Chapter 42, and Chapter 43 of the City of Muncie Code of Ordinances entitled Code of Ethics.
Is there a motion to introduce
I will make that motion.
37-24?
No, second that.
And a motion and a second. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the council for this?
I just speak on I'm glad we're here. It's a long time coming. We've been working on this. You guys have been really at it hard on the committee for this. I think I'm pretty excited about having this. I just want to speak on my gratitude to Mr. Robertson for kind of getting the ball rolling when you're up here on this. So duly noted, thank you. And everybody on the committee that put in the meetings at 7 o'clock, and the way you came forward and was very upfront with every meeting and offering support and everything. So I just really glad that we're here now. So thank you for everybody's work that went into this.
Anyone else from the council?
Yeah. Thank you. I attended couple of those meetings. I wasn't sure what I was going to hear, but my first meeting, I really made me feel very comfortable. I think everyone on that committee had the best intentions, and it was just smooth. And I understand that there's state, ethics rules on the state level, but as a city, having our own just puts us a step forward from other cities, and just lets people know you can do business here and feel comfortable doing business here. You can come live here. So I think it's a great thing for our city. So thank you for everybody that worked hard on it.
Anyone else, Mr. Bassett?
Yes, Council, could you go into detail or a little bit more detail regarding your conversations with the General Counsel for the Association of Indiana Municipalities, or AIM, and what those conversations revealed?
Sure. So myself, along with Aubrey Christ, who's one of the city attorneys, had a conference call a couple weeks ago. I had provided this ordinance quite a while ago to the city attorney's office just to get their feedback as well. And I believe the administration had asked AIM to take a look at it. There were some kind of suggestions, pointers, things to look at, reference some of the state regulations that are in place at the state level, a few other items, but nothing major. There may be a few things that Aubrey and I talked about, might be some slight revisions coming before adoption, but nothing major. I think once General Counsel for AIM understood the process, who was involved, and what we quite frankly referenced in putting this all together, she felt comfortable as well. So it was a pretty, it was a good conversation, but nothing really major came from that conversation.
And I'm sorry. Could you go into a little bit more detail regarding those? I think this document was on our table tonight. Am I correct? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen that document, so I can't speak on it.
Okay.
Fine, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the audience?
Elizabeth Edgell. I served on the Ethics Advisory Committee, and it was a wonderful experience. However, it was not the smooth process that Ms. Selvey mentioned. I was beset on all sides by the people that wanted me thrown off of the committee, and we kept at it. I believe that we did our due diligence, and we created an ethics code that the city is sorely in need of. Had it been in place already, things would be going a very different way than they're going now. And many of you know that I work in marketing, and the one thing that marketing has to do with the ethics committee is trends that are coming in 2025, and they just came out. And let me read to you what some of the coming trends are for concerns of people in 2025. Personal finance, lack of healthy and affordable food, lack of health care, political stability, and elections and government. And here's their values going toward 2025. And this is what everybody's going to base their marketing off of for next year. Integrity, transparency, keeping your promises, authentic connections, not being fake, being self-sufficient, feeling in control, finding joy, and mental, physical, and emotional health. As you can see, that people value being genuine and having transparency in their government. What they don't value is people that are unethical. And from our city's start, we've been based in criminal activity literally since day one of the property being owned by the Indians that we took it from. All right, so it's been based in criminal activity, and many of our elected officials since then and our leaders since then have also participated in that activity. And that's definitely affected the reputation that this city has. When someone looks up Muncie on Google, what do they see? Do they see what great people we have here? Do they see how many caring hearts and kindnesses are taken care of in a day? Because I see them in my group every single day. they don't get to see that. They don't get to hear the good. They get to hear how our firefighters cheated on their state exams and EMS. They get to hear how our officers used excessive force. They get to hear things like that. Oh, our last mayor, we all know how that went. I would like to know when our city takes care of the diligence they owe us, because if we don't pay our property taxes, you take our property. I still can't drive down streets in this town. The fact that we're going to add and annex more property here and the streets were even mentioned is laughable. Laughable. The streets are a problem. They have been for years now. And so I just ask that maybe instead of when we are asked about what Muncie's most remembered for, maybe somebody could give the answer that isn't Little Chicago. Maybe we could be known for being the most ethical, transparent government around. And that's what I believe we all tried to do in serving on that commission, despite everything that was railed against us. We did our best with that, just like I know you all are doing your best, and you're paying for your last, we've got to have this ordinance. It's a necessity. They're just going forward. I don't see any way that we can go forward as a city without it. Not and keep the trust in our government that you want out of your constituents. Thank you.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I prepared a statement because, as you all know, I will go on for a while. Well, I know most of you, so I feel weird about it, but for the public record, my name is Jeff Robinson. I was the sponsoring council person and the one who brought forward Resolution 6-23. It was amended a couple of times, but the original ordinance was, the original resolution was 6-23 in April of last year, which established and appointed the Ethics Advisory Committee to develop a citywide code of ethics and an ethics commission. Tonight, I stand before you in firm support of Ordinance 37-24. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Chip Taylor, Dr. Charles Taylor, who is waiting to come in and clean up after I'm done. Him, as well as the members that we appointed last year to this Ethics Advisory Committee for their hard work. They spent the last 18 months. It's been 18 months since we brought this resolution and passed it with an 8-1 vote in 2023. And they've been working hard to develop this code of ethics, but also setting a framework for how an ethics commission would be established to enforce this code. This is something that the city of Muncie, unfortunately, has needed for quite a while. And I'm proud to have been the council member to bring this initiative forward, but really I'm more proud of the work that the Ethics Advisory Committee has done to produce the ordinance that's before you this evening. A lot of people might not know what this is, right? We read a summary of what we're looking at, but not often the details. So I want to go into a little bit about why this is important and really to ask you to trust the process. So in democracy, trust is absolutely everything, as we all know. Citizens must trust that they've elected you and others to serve and will act with honesty, fairness, and transparency. Without this trust, government breaks down, governance breaks down, and communities suffer. An ethics code enforced by an independent commission isn't just nice to have, it is an absolute necessity, especially in a community like Muncie, where for far too long citizens have expressed concerns, whether real or perceived, about the conduct and decisions by local officials. First, let's be clear about what an ethics code does. Okay, it's not just a set of rules. It's a moral contract with the community. It establishes clear, unwavering standards of conduct, setting a high bar for behavior and accountability. When public officials are guided by these standards, decisions become more transparent and driven by public interest, not by personal agendas, not by favoritism, and certainly not by corruption. But an ethics code alone is not enough. Words without accountability are empty. Words without accountability are empty. That's where an ethics commission steps in. An independent, empowered ethics commission gives real weight to that code. It ensures that when misconduct or conflicts of interest arise, they are investigated fairly, swiftly, and thoroughly. It makes sure that those who break the trust of citizens don't go unchecked. This isn't about creating more bureaucracy. It's about creating a safeguard, a watchdog dedicated to the protection of the community's trust. And what's more important than the community's trust in their elected leaders? We can't overlook how an ethics code and commission together help prevent abuses of power. Conflicts of interest are a persistent threat in local government, and without oversight, decisions can too easily be influenced by personal gain rather than the public good. An ethics commission actively guards against this, enforcing consequences for breaches and reminding every official and employee of the serious responsibility they hold. Most importantly, having both an ethics code and a commission to enforce it tells the community that you take our trust seriously, that you take our trust, the citizens' trust in you, seriously, that you are committed to a government that works for us transparently and honorably. When citizens see a strong system of accountability, they feel safer. They feel heard. They know they can trust in a government that won't just talk about integrity and won't just talk about transparency, but will live it. That's what the citizens see with a step like this. In the end, an ethics code and an ethics commission are more than policies. They're a pillar of a healthy democracy as well as a healthy community. They defend the community's trust, promote honesty in decision-making, and strengthen our shared values. I'm asking you to commit yourselves to building a government that not only serves, but serves with honor, integrity, and accountability. This is an easy choice, folks. This is a yes vote tonight to introduce, and this is a yes vote next month to adopt. And then as you'll see laid out in the ordinance, you'll have some appointments to make, 2 from the council, 2 from the mayor's office, a 5th member being appointed by those 4 members. I am so proud of the work that's been done by the Ethics Advisory Committee. I'm proud of the work that the City Council did last year while I was sitting up there among some of you that took the steps and had the courage to take this step. This is a big step for this community. There aren't many communities in Indiana. Indianapolis is one, and there is a collection of communities in Northwest Indiana that have the same. Outside of that, we would be it. So this is a big step for us. But I believe we can do it. I believe the right appointments can be made to start beginning to rebuild that trust that's been lost for so long in our community with our constituents. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, Charles Taylor. It was my privilege to chair the Ethics Advisory Committee. I'm here speaking mainly as in my individual capacity now. I'm glad to hear other people, council members and others speak in support of the ordinance. I would also encourage you to support the introduction of it tonight. In addition to those who have, we've heard here tonight, I've shared with the City Council a letter from Heather Williams, the chair of the board of the Muncie Action Plan. The letter communicates that the MAP Board of Directors endorses the ordinance and encourages the City Council and the mayor to enact it. In the letter, she explains that the original Muncie Action Plan included developing a code of ethics for local government as one of the action items. In fact, she said at a public open house in 2009, that was the item it developed. It received more votes than any other item that was under discussion. Unfortunately, after that, no code was developed, and we all know what happened a few years later. This ordinance is more about Muncie's future than it is the past or the present. although I'll say I think at present we've got a strong foundation to build on. As it said in the cover memo that you received when the committee sent you the draft ordinance, in a large part we've built on the work that's already been done by the administration when the mayor implemented ethics rules for the employees. I had seen, I guess that summer, one of those quarterly, however often it is, where department heads come on, and Michael Wilson was the HR director then and talked about the ethics rules that were being implemented. I was encouraged to hear that, and so early on, our second meeting, I had reached out to her. She shared with the committee all the information that she had about it. Appeared at the meeting. We had a long discussion, and she was very helpful. And so there is a lot in that ordinance that really just builds on the ethics rules that have already been implemented for employees. Also, I'll say to applaud the mayor some more. Yeah, I remember earlier this year, we read in the paper someone had raised some concerns about potential wrongdoing by a city employee. Okay, you all were briefed on that in an executive session, and I was glad when I read in the paper that the mayor had done what any of us would have wanted and called in the appropriate agency to investigate. As I understand it, the report came back. There was a misunderstanding. It was things weren't that bad. That's good. I'm glad it got checked out. I was not surprised if somebody asked me, what do you think Mayor Ridenour would do in a situation like this? That's what I would have predicted. But there'll be other mayors in the future. What if there had been some wrongdoing? What if we had a future mayor that wanted to sweep that under the rug? It was an election year or something, right? This ordinance will ensure that someone who suspects some sort of wrongdoing like that has some place they know they can go report it and it will get dealt with. If it is a potential violation of state law, then if you read in there, the Ethics Commission's role then is to hand that off to the appropriate, law enforcement agency to investigate. They're not replacing, anybody in something like this. But if it's something lesser, if it's one of the local rules, then, the commission would investigate, make an appropriate recommendation. Whatever the situation is, people will know that there's one place they can go report this and it'll get dealt with appropriately. I guess just to wrap up, I'd say I suspect that most people here tonight have smoke detectors in their homes. And I bet that whenever you installed it, your house wasn't on fire that day, right? Because that's not when your house is on fire is not the time to install a smoke detector, right? You do that ahead of time. This ordinance is like a smoke detector, okay? And now's the time to install it. We don't need to wait until there's a problem and then decide that we could use an ethics ordinance. Now, when things are going well, now's the time to do it, get it in place, and try and keep that way for the future. So again, appreciate the comments in support of it, and I would encourage you all to introduce it tonight. I'm glad to hear that the council attorney and the city attorney are working on any final details need to be done, and look forward to seeing the eventual adoption. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak tonight from the audience?
I would.
Mr. Bash?
Dr. Taylor, could you talk to us about the funding mechanism for the commission? I read it and didn't see anything about that in the report from the advisory committee.
That's honestly, that will be up to the mayor and the council as part of the budget process to decide, what sort of budget they're going to have.
Oh, okay.
We were tasked with writing the ordinance, defining the code of ethics, defining the structure of the commission, how it would work. We spent right at a year doing that. We didn't presume to address the budget, but I think part of this is going to depend on the final details that are worked out among the attorneys to make sure this is right. But it's that will be up to the administration, the council.
If I may, Councilman Basham, when this was envisioned, there was never any funding that would have been required. This is just like any other board or commission that would be primarily volunteer based. If they found themselves in a situation where they had to do an investigation and some additional resources were needed, then I'm sure that commission could come to the council or go to the administration to procure those. This is just like any other board or commission. We hope that there are people out there. I believe that there will be many people out there that would be willing to serve this on a volunteer basis. We have many, many boards and commissions throughout city government where people do the same. So to answer your question, there's no funding mechanism written in the ordinance because there's no funding that is anticipated being needed.
Thank you.
I guess to elaborate on that a little bit, there was some discussion along those lines during the committee meetings. And if you look in there, I mean, what's envisioned in the ordinance is that to the extent that the commission needs legal assistance, it would come from the city attorney or the city council attorney or the city council attorney as appropriate. And so, I mean, those people are already budgeted. There could potentially, if there's a case where for some reason they were both conflicted out, there would be a need to hire some sort of outside counsel. But like Jeff said, there's no envision that that the commission members would be paid, just like any of the other boards and commissions. So.
Right. That was, yeah. Exactly what I wondered.
Anyone else from the audience? Anyone else from the council? Roll call, please.
Ms. Selby?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Bellion?
Yes.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
President Fishman?
Yes.
9 yes.
Resolution 13-24.
Resolution 13-24, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie, Indiana, adopting a fiscal plan and definitive policy for the annexation of property contiguous to the City of Muncie, Indiana, pursuant to ordinance numbers 2924, 3024, 3124, and 3224.
Is there a motion to introduce resolution 13-24?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Anyone here from the audience wishing to talk on this?
Just real quick, this is a resolution, so there wouldn't normally be an introduction. Just want to make sure that was the motion to introduce or adopt.
No.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
In the fiscal plan, do we know, because it talks about the services that we will be providing, do you know how much those services will cost the city?
Costs are highlighted on the last page of the fiscal plan. So the estimates are fairly modest because, as you heard already from the police and fire department, which public safety was a big one, they're going to serve those areas with the existing staffing and there's a fire station close. There's not going to be a lot of additional costs there. So the cost that we highlighted on page 31, is it? Excuse me. Make sure I got the right page here. Yeah, 33 were the costs that were indicated to us. It's really street department costs are the key thing. The rest of the costs that you're incurring in staffing up your departments and the wages and such are things that you're doing regardless of the annexation, not as a result of the annexation. That's why they're not more costs highlighted here.
Since the public doesn't have this packet, could you read those costs to the city out loud, please?
Sure. We did hand it out at all the public meetings, the council meetings, but the street department estimated about $20,500 in maintenance costs, because it's mostly new streets that we'd be talking about, or for any additional streets in the areas being developed, and for cleanup and that kind of thing. And then there was one $150,000 street extension that would be included too, and that was more of a matter of connecting part of this area into the existing street network of the city. That was a one-time cost. So the ongoing costs were, like I said, $20,500. Actually the street and road MBH distributions that I mentioned earlier are about that same amount, $20,000. And then in addition, we have this $230,000 of
Revenue.
based on the current property tax revenue. Those are going to go up as you improve those neighborhoods, add some homes that the mayor had talked about before, but that's just based on today's numbers.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else for council? Anyone else from the audience? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
14-24.
Resolution 14-24, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Muncie recognizing November as Transgender Awareness Month.
Is there a motion for the introduction of resolution?
I'll second.
I wish you would let me finish, please. There's been a motion and a second. Is there anyone from the audience want to speak on this?
Daisy Dale on record. For us in the trans community, this resolution isn't meant to only be symbolic. Past being a statement of acknowledging Trans Awareness Month, this is about our municipality being willing to support us in a time that the Human Rights Campaign has deemed a state of emergency for the LGBTQ Americans. This comes in a moment where restrictions are being assigned into legislation state by state, not only for trans youth, but for trans adults, and restrictions that are either through direct discrimination or at least through creating barriers, the kind that restrict what provider you can see and what coverage you will be limited to. And misinformation surrounding gender-affirming care has only limited life-saving healthcare that to many of us has led to violent actions and rhetoric against trans individuals. This sends a message that for many of us trying to navigate housing, employment, and healthcare here in Muncie, we have a municipality on our side that's willing to offer protections, at least in some capacity. And for those of us who deal with precarious employment, this tells local employers that we have a city that will have our back. By voting on this resolution as a council member, you're not merely weighing in on a national political issue, but making a vote on human rights. Thank you.
Hi, Charlize Jameson. I've heard some really nice things tonight about Muncie leading the way. We just heard it about ethics, that there aren't many communities, certainly our sized communities that have it. And I've been really proud the 10 years that I've been back in Muncie. Muncie's been a leader in this area. You know, we have had transgender recognitions throughout the last 10 years. We've had ordinances, and some of you were up there when it was happening, that said no discrimination, no one should be discriminated against in Muncie. And this is a continuation of that kind of thinking, that kind of acceptance, in making Muncie a welcoming community for all citizens. And so I would encourage you, I stand here strongly affirming this resolution. I would hope for a 9-0, but I'll take a victory. But you know, this is an educational thing. This is not a divisive wedge. This is about not fearing what you don't understand. It's about understanding greater than what you have now. And I'll just share my own personal feeling. I've known this since I was 12 years old. Next August, I'll be 70. I had the opportunity to share this exact statement a couple of hours ago with someone running for office. I didn't choose to be transgender. Transgender people, intersex people don't choose that. The only choice I made was whether or not to keep hiding it or come out. And I'm proud to say that I live in a community that has welcomed me, embraced me, and I have not lost one person of significance in my life because I transitioned. And I count, some of you I don't know real well, and I need to change that, but I count all of you as friends. And you've been welcoming to me. And for that, I'm grateful. And I hope you'll vote 9-0. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Rice Snow. I'm the mother of a transgender daughter. Official statements of inclusion surely have many benefits. Sending a message to trans people and the people they love that Muncie is a good place to move to, certainly one. The benefit I'd like to emphasize is suicide prevention. While violence against trans people is for sure a big and terrifying problem, another overwhelming problem is self-harm. Study after study shows that family, friend, and community support is fundamental for reducing self-harm and suicide ideation. People who are themselves in the face of so many forces pushing them to conform, I'm greedy to have them in our community, just like I'm greedy for safety for my daughter. So thank you for looking at this, and please support this resolution.
Good evening, Council. My name is Floyd Llewellyn, and I'm here to encourage you guys to all affirm this resolution. I do a lot of queer-centered and trans-centered events in this city, and I've produced economic value to this city. And I know that I cannot continue to bring events and bring people to make money for the city if there's not an open and affirming statement. And I want to encourage you guys to know the knowledge that any chance you skip to uplift a marginalized community is act of violence. And people that travel to cities and spend money see those acts of violence and take them seriously when they're considering doing business in Indiana and Muncie itself. So I encourage you all to accept this resolution. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Feeney. I am a local nurse practitioner. I'm the secretary of the board for Muncie Queer Alliance, and I'm the mom of a transgender son. So living in these roles has given me a little bit of perspective to speak on the state of trans lives in Delaware County. Earlier this year, Indiana was noted to be a high-risk state for LGBTQ+ citizens. Not only did Indiana ban gender-affirming healthcare for those under 18, but Indiana has virtually no laws on the books to protect trans Hoosiers. In 2023, nearly 24 anti-LGBTQ bills, most of them targeting trans citizens, were filed in the Indiana General Assembly. This hostile legislative environment, combined with poor preparation of medical providers, means that trans Hoosiers often travel out of state for healthcare, taking their healthcare dollars elsewhere. Imagine if you had to go seek your basic healthcare in another state. Additionally, a lack of workplace protections means that trans Hoosiers often leave the state for safer climes, exacerbating brain drain and leaving our state less diverse and less enticing to both individuals and businesses looking to relocate here. November has been recognized as Transgender Awareness Month nationally since 2017. This resolution proposes that Muncie recognize November as Transgender Awareness Month. It further asks the council to support the right of trans Hoosiers to access appropriate evidence-based health care. There are an estimated 400 transgender citizens in Muncie. That's not a small number. These folks are your baristas, your social workers, your healthcare providers, and your neighbors. While this resolution will not magically make Indiana a safer place for LGBTQ plus Hoosiers, recognizing this month encourages Delaware County citizens to educate themselves on the lives of their trans neighbors, and increases visibility of trans lives, experiences, and issues. It shows trans folks that, at least in Muncie, Hoosier hospitality means hospitality for all. So I recommend you adopt this resolution.
Good evening. I'm State Representative Sue Arrington, and I live at 3200 West Brook Drive. I rise in support of Resolution 14-24, recognizing November as Transgender Awareness Month, and I want to thank Councilwoman Powell for authoring it. I have participated in Transgender Awareness Month programs here in Muncie on at least a couple of occasions. My role was to read the names of transgender individuals, mostly women, who had been murdered because of who they were. I hope we can all agree that no one should be targeted to be killed because of who they are or what they look like. This resolution puts the City Council on record as opposing violence against transgender individuals and supporting protection of their civil rights. In light of recent legislation, which has already been mentioned here before I spoke, legislation in the Indiana General Assembly denying parents the right to choose the health care they believe is life-saving and life-affirming for their children, I encourage the Muncie City Council to take the actions that are outlined in the resolution. I believe that Muncie is a city that is welcoming to all, and this resolution will help cement that idea. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Morgan Roddy. I use she, her pronouns. I live at 422 North Alden Road. And I come to you for my first time speaking at City Council without a prepared message. I just want to share that this is an invitation for all of us to become aware of our transgender neighbors and community members. This invitation is something that we should all take an opportunity to learn about the lives and experiences of trans Hoosiers, especially those who live in Muncie. They, again, as mentioned before, are amongst us as our coworkers, as our neighbors, as very valuable people in our community, not just because of what they do, but simply because of who they are and that they exist. We don't need to place a value on somebody just on what they produce or the numbers of them that there are. If there's one transgender person in Muncie, we need to be aware of their experience and make the best of their experience. I invite you to please adopt this resolution, as we need to take care of all of our neighbors at this time. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm Curtis Dorgan, and I'm a longtime Muncie resident. As a child, grew up here, did the typical Muncie thing. Muncie was my home, and when I realized that I was gay, in late high school, I started having those worries about what am I going to do now? So I went to college here and left. Because Muncie was not a place that I could be and be myself. One of the biggest reasons we don't have a growing, thriving city isn't because we don't have another development over here, another development over there, because we haven't fixed our house inside. We put paint and shutters on the outside, but we haven't fixed what the problem is on the inside. And that's truly, truly accepting all members of our community as equals. And asking you tonight to accept this resolution and vote yes to enable us to continue that mission to making people more aware of that we are your friends, your family, your neighbors. You probably know trans people that you don't even realize that they're trans because you just have an idea that there might be looking some way or another, but the reality is we are all different in some way than other people. And my passion in this life, I run a group called Muncie Pride Network. And when I moved back here about 5.5 years ago, from having lived in Chicago, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, cities who are doing it right, I found my hometown to be severely lacking in some of the core base essentials that we need to be able to feel safe to walk down the street. I have a husband who, up until we moved back here, I felt comfortable walking all over town, just normal, doing everyday things. There are times we're here, we don't sit on the same side of the table while we're dining out, and we don't have those hand-holding across the table instances. So tonight is about our trans folks. All those things I've just expressed to you are the uncomfortable things that I experience, but I'm a gay man. You don't know that I'm a gay man until you figure that out. Trans folks have had to figure that out, a whole different set of issues for themselves. They've had to hide themselves in ways that I can't even begin to understand, and that it hurts my soul when I don't see that they are being accepted or they are not welcomed in our community as well. This resolution is a simple, small step towards letting us acknowledge they exist, that they are vital, valuable members of our community, and that they have the right to seek the proper medical attention and care that they deserve. And I just really feel this is a no-brainer. So I truly hope you prove me to be correct in that. Thank you.
My name is Joseph Farrell, currently residing at 405 North Monroe. I use he, him pronouns, honorifics of sir and Mr. I appreciate everything that has been said about moving forward regarding this, but like Dr. Taylor mentioned about looking back, 100 years ago, we were part of a sociological study about being the average American town. Cool, we're average. Let's be above average. We have that in us. We've stood average for 100 years. It's time. This is a great first step toward, okay, so we have this, now what? To begin that, now what? Now, bringing up a little more recent past, try to rack your brains for what you were doing on July 21st. It was a nice, hot, sunny day. It was a Sunday, 107 days ago. That was the day that I ran from gender identity abuse and came out. The first people who heard my name other than friends were the people at a domestic violence shelter where I stayed for 50 days. And they said that they could take care of someone like me. Federally, they're required to. Not a lot of resources in that regard. So by putting this out there, this then can be a launch pad to improve the services we already have. We have great resources on certain levels, but if you don't fit the exact box that service was built for, there is no services. And for folks like me who are only 107 days in, who had their first encounter with trans violence inside that shelter, and nothing could be done because no staff witnessed it, this and especially as a trans man, which is a much smaller pool of people, that this is, I've lived in Muncie for almost 25 years, and to be scared to open the door in my own hometown. Muncie can do better. We're working on that code of ethics in the ethics committee. We can do better. Please, for the sake of people like me, we need to do better. Otherwise, the next person like me may not have the guts to up and run. And instead of them standing in front of you right now, you would have read their obituary in the newspaper.
Holly Yipe, local human advocate and local queer, friend of queers. Let's see, I know many of you personally, and I just want to remind you that whether you are representing Muncie at large or in a district, there are trans and non-binary people that live in your district. There's some that may have even voted for you. Some of them may have voted for someone else, but at the end of the day, you are our council. Your words matter. The way that you use those words and the way that you present our city to the community and the greater community at large matters. And so I would just urge you to go ahead and use your words in a positive way and show people that Muncie is a place that is open and welcoming and that wants to set itself apart from the rest of the state of Indiana. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janetta Presley. I live at 1419 West 8th Street. And I have a son who is a hermaphrodite. He came to me from foster care system and nobody bothered to take care of his issues, whether he's boy or girl. And so my son had to live like this his whole life as a child because the state of Indiana wouldn't pay for surgery for him because they said that he wasn't old enough to make choices for himself on whether he was to be a boy or a girl. And so therefore he lived a miserable life. He tried to kill himself as a teenager. We had to seek outside of the Indiana area to Ohio to a youth doctor for him. And so I really would like to see healthcare for these folks, that they can get what they need and they can make the choices that they want to make in their lives. But me as a foster parent, my hands was tied with this child. And so I would like to see that taken where that they can make those choices for themselves. So I really would like to see you guys recognize all of this. Thank you.
My name's Tim Overton, and I'm going to give the minority report, I reckon. But I am in opposition to the resolution. When you normalize something, you get more of it. So in World War II, if you poll the percentage of homosexuality, it's very, very low. You go to the baby boomers, it's up a little bit. Go to the Xers, it's more. You go to the millennials, quite a bit more. You go to Generation Z, and the statistics say 17, some surveys over 20% are homosexual. So when you normalize something, you get more of it. Now, this points to it being a cultural phenomenon, not a biological one. Okay? Evolution, survival of the fittest. If you have a homosexual gene, it does not reproduce. It's not natural. Well, but over millions of years of evolution, it would cease to exist. If you believe in divinity,
Point of order. He's got.
I didn't heckle you all. If you believe in divinity, then God obviously intends male and female to go together and reproduce. Now, I don't know if you've met detransitioners. I have. Females whose biological clock, whose hormones will never be normal. Body parts removed, they will never have children. And if you normalize this, the question is going to be put to more elementary kids and junior high kids that will say, little boy, are you a girl? Little girl, are you a boy? And by posing the question, just like we've had an increase in homosexuality, you're going to have an increase in transgenderism. Now, they believe that the suicide rate is because no one affirms them. I believe it is because they deny reality. Biological reality of male and female. And I have all human civilization to back me up.
No.
So, okay, the choice is yours, But I just think it's important to recognize where we as a society are, where we have been, and to know that my perspective is not one that's a very few people. Okay. And if you had met detransitioners, I think you would not want to normalize this. I've literally sat with someone and they can't sit still for too long because they have burning sensations because of what the doctors did to them. Europe is abandoning the transitions because they know it doesn't work. So, I hope that you would not approve this because you don't want to normalize that which harms people. And I appreciate you letting me speak. Thank you.
That is the hate that we are hoping you can help us protect against. Just like left-handed people used to be demonized, we discovered once we accepted that left-handed people were just born left-handed people, there were more left-handed people. And as years went by, we discovered more and more people were left-handed. It's the same thing. People have always been queer since the beginning of time. They will be queer to the end of all time. We have always existed, whether we've been out with it or not. You can act like it's a new phenomenon, but it's because we are joining together and we're being brave enough, like you saw right here, all of us standing up together to say, no, we're done having to hide in the shadows. We're done having to be ashamed of who we are and who we love when the rest of you guys get to live your lives out in the light. Why do we not get to live our lives out in the light? And so this resolution we're asking you to pass says that Muncie says that it's okay for queer people like me to live our life and our truth out in the light of day. And we all deserve that. Now, I'll tell you, like, yeah, we might be, nobody's asking little boys and little girls if they're little boys or little girls. That's ridiculous. But the truth is, since I was in second grade, 7 years old, I was told I was a girl. I was told by the way I caught a baseball that I was a girl. I was told because I danced out in the outfield and picked dandelions that I was a girl. Because I walked a certain way, I was a girl. I spent my whole life having to fight this idea that I was a girl so much that I started to hate the feminine in me, the gay in me. I started hating women because anything that like even drew the idea of feminism to me meant that I was seen. And until I was able to accept myself and accept that I am feminine as well as masculine, just like everybody in this room is feminine and masculine. We are all a combination of those energies. And we exist and we will always exist. And I'm sorry it makes you so mad. It makes you so mad. But we exist and we have the right to exist, just like you have the right to exist. So please let us exist.
Hi, Steve Craig, straight, male, cisgender, married with children, and I'm not concerned that this will make my children gay or trans. I love everybody in this room, and we're all normal.
Anyone else from the audience wants to speak? Anybody from the council? Roll call, please. Oh, you want to speak?
No, actually, I just, part of the resolution suggests that it encourages the Human Rights Commission to review research and studies regarding gender affirming healthcare. I guess I'm interested in knowing more details about gender affirming healthcare.
What can I answer for you?
No, I just would like more details regarding
Gender affirming healthcare?
Yes, yes.
Gender affirming healthcare is any healthcare that affirms gender. So in the very basic sense of the word, if someone has a breast reduction because the breasts that they were born with are making their life uncomfortable, that's gender affirming care. Viagra is gender affirming care. Hormone therapy for menopause is gender affirming care. We're specifically talking about our trans neighbors. We're talking about potentially just getting healthcare that people, where the provider understands what trans people are going through. We may be talking about hormone therapy to help sometimes we refer to it as cross-sex hormone therapy. So aligning the internal feeling of gender with the external feeling of gender. We may be talking about surgeries. When we're talking about adults, no one is doing surgery on children. It's not happening. Mental health care. I mean, gender affirming care covers a very broad spectrum. But one of the things we need to really consider is that healthcare providers aren't being trained to consider our trans brothers and sisters, right? So a lot of healthcare providers won't treat your high blood pressure if you're transgender and on hormone therapy because they didn't learn that. It's still your blood pressure. It doesn't matter. So gender affirming care is anything that helps a person align their gender with their internal feeling of their gender, align their external gender with their internal gender.
Anyone else?
May I continue to ask? May I? We read a lot of headlines about gender affirming care for children. Could you talk about those headlines?
Sure. In the state of Indiana, those headlines are often exaggerated, and we now anyone under 18 in the state can't access any gender affirming care. That means if a 16-year-old comes into my office and they say, "I'm trans, can you help me?" I can't speak to them. I legally cannot speak to them about that. I can't tell them anything. Before the ban went into place, gender affirming healthcare for children typically is mental health care, getting them with an affirming therapist who can help them understand the difference between the way they're feeling inside versus the way they're looking at their body. In some cases, it might involve puberty suppression. So putting someone on birth control to stop menstrual cycles. We do that all the time for cis kids, but now we're not allowed to do it for trans kids. Still do it for cis kids, same medicine, same biology, but now we can't do that. It could involve potentially when they're older, putting them on hormone therapy so that they are having puberty at the same time as their cisgender peers. Nobody is doing surgery on kids under 18. It doesn't happen. We're talking about medical care, health care, mental health care.
May I continue? May I ask again? What kind of resistance, as a practitioner, what kind of resistance or support, and I know this is anecdotal, do you get from families and parents?
It runs the gamut. I have people who want their children to be happy and healthy, and so they come in seeking the care that they think their children need and are open to whatever, they'll sit down with medical professionals who understand the evidence-based care, and they'll make decisions as a team. All the way to, I have families that come in and say, "Fix this isn't okay." I have kids who come in, they've come to Ball State and they're finally 18 and they're out from under a family who didn't understand or didn't respect their feelings and their identity. And now they've come seeking care as adults because they could not get that care as children. So it's a spectrum.
I have one more question. We hear a lot in the faith community about the trans community. Are there people of faith that could speak to this conundrum? I know, but this is an issue that.
Hi, I have a Master of Theological Studies from Trinity Lutheran Seminary, Columbus, Ohio. I am also a licensed lay preacher in the Episcopal Church, and I do serve as a hospice chaplain in another town. How may I help you?
I just tell you that that we hear.
There are some faith communities for whom their understanding and interpretations of their texts excludes anyone who is not cisgender heterosexual. However, in the communities that I tend to frequent, including the Episcopal Church, the understanding of being created in God's image and loving one's neighbor as oneself and treating the alien as a member of your family are more important, as in the case of what Jesus Christ said, that there are two great commands: to love your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and the second is like unto it, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Upon all these things hang the law and the prophets. And to turn real quickly to the gender affirming care situation, I am also intersex. I have a hormone chromosome mismatch. So anytime someone with high testosterone polycystic ovary syndrome is told, oh, for your acne, take these pills, they're being given testosterone blockers. The doctors are not telling them that's gender affirming care, testosterone blockers, and the like. And there are only 4 medical schools that currently offer gender affirming care, especially gender affirming surgical residencies. So we can't get people to provide care fast enough, to the point where here in Muncie, where there are medical students, residents practicing under attendings, they are misgendering their patients in their charts. In my charts, they're using the wrong pronouns in the hallways with their fellow colleagues. The ethics line is tired of hearing from me.
If I could address 2 of your questions. At 60 years old, when I came out to my physician, and I'm sad that he's no longer in our community. He moved on, but he was absolutely the best. And I was so worried when I came out to him, and I waited until the absolute last possible time, Dale. And when I came out to him, I was afraid I was going to lose him as my doctor. What he did, and this would be for every healthcare person that's within the sound of my voice, he didn't try to change me. He didn't try to correct a problem. He put his hand on mine and he said, "We've got this." That was it. And then he picked up the phone and he called a therapist. And between my doctor and my other doctor, therapy, they saved my life, Dale. Six months after I started seeing my therapist, and my therapist was in conversation with my physician, I got my first hormone. I've been on hormone therapy, estrogen, for the last 6-7 years. People don't walk in wanting hormones and have them handed out like a Pez dispenser and walk out. They just don't. Therapists have to test, have to question, and doctors have to do the same. Now, there is no Transgender 101 manual, but for anyone else listening, get a good therapist, get a good physician, and sign the papers that allow the 2 of them to communicate. Because like I said, I mean, I wasn't some kid that went in wanting hormones. I was 60, and it took 6 months. As for faith, and I'm going to speak for myself because there's a whole spectrum of people on the faith scale from 0 to, I don't know, whatever the top number is. I was raised in the church. You and I went to the same college.
Christian college.
Yep. I'm going to describe myself the way I described myself to someone earlier this evening. I'm a child of God, a follower of Christ, and a transgender woman. And there's not one inconsistent piece of that statement. And the idea that one can't be a Christian and be gay, or be a Christian and be transgender, that's not what John says when Jesus said, I gave you a new commandment. Not talking about the old law. You know the one I'm probably talking about. Our job is to love one another as we would love ourselves. And that's what I live by. Thank you.
I just want to say I resent that question. We are coming into a government body to ask for help, and you are asking, well, what do the Christians think about this? Here's the thing. The Bible and Christianity has been used to enslave Black people and oppress Black people. The Bible and Christianity has been used to oppress women, still is used to oppress women. And the Bible and Christianity has always and is still being used to oppress queer people, even though queer people were in the Bible too, just so you know. And so now to come and ask for a city agency to help us and to be told, what do the Christians think? That shouldn't even be a question. This should be about like us having rights and us being seen as citizens, and to like just open everyone's eyes. Queer people can be Christian too. I'm not, but queer people can. And so I don't know why that's even a question you would bring up. I don't know why that matters into the conversation, but I resent the question. We've done a lot of talking about ethics tonight, and I think ethically that question should have never even been asked. Thank you.
Once again, Holly Yipe. Earlier we talked about annexation, and one of the biggest arguments for that annexation is that the people in that community wanted to have a basic level of safety. They wanted access to things and services like police and fire. And so when we're talking about giving the Human Rights Commission access to information, it's giving the Human Rights Commission access to the tools that they need to do their jobs, which is to tell if citizens within the city of Muncie have had their rights violated. If they don't have access to that information, how can they tell if people's rights have been violated or not? And that doesn't matter whether it's a breast reduction, a breast enhancement, hair plugs, Viagra. I don't care. And nobody else should either. That's between a person, their doctor, and that's it. And if that's not where we're at, then we just got to get moving forward on, and people need the tools that they need to have their job done correctly.
My name is Jamie Zabel. This is my second time speaking at a city council meeting or a county council meeting. And I wasn't going to say anything, but I did want to add my own perspective, especially as we're starting to wrap things up here, and help aid a conclusion for adopting this resolution. I'm not trans, but I am queer. And it is too common of an experience for members of the LGBTQ plus community to view the closet as less of a hiding place temporarily and more so as a bunker. And so that's a place where I'm so sorry.
You're fine. Okay. You're okay.
And so that's a place where fear and shame and confusion, they reign, and they're contained, but they're never extinguished. And so when we're having these conversations, and I know other trans and queer kids as well that have much worse experiences, much more personal and painful experiences. I came out almost 2 years ago to my parents. I'm now 17. And when you vote for this resolution, you're adding to the overall conversation that relates back to my experience as a 15-year-old that was scared. And so, and my friends that have similar experiences. And so this affirming care, it saves people's lives, whether you're an adolescent or as an adult, no matter what age. Of course, above 18 for any surgeries, as has already been discussed by people who said it much more eloquently than I ever could. But to reiterate what I said a few years ago, these conversations are harder to have with your kids or your friends when there are decisions being made that bar the support and care of trans people. And so relating back to how faith conflicts with identity, I was raised Catholic, and I have people in my life, wonderful people that hold faith very closely to them, and they support me and they support other queer people. And so I can't say it as precisely as the few speakers before me, but it's not all faiths that discriminate, and queer people can hold faith and follow it and pursue it and love it. But faith and being queer is not mutually exclusive. So.
Good evening, Council President, council members. Name is Lawrence Robinson. I live at 4000 West Robinwood. Know most of you up there from the last few years. I wasn't going to get up and say anything, but I've heard people talk about, I've heard the homophobes and the questions up there. I've met a lot of gays and transgenders in the last couple of years, and they're no different than the rest of us. That's right. Their sexuality is different, but they're people. Get to know them. There are a lot of them that I call friends because they're no different. They just want to live their life. They want to be happy. If they're happy, that's great. All of us want to be happy. I've been married for 52 years and love my wife very much. And I've met a lot of people that are trans and homosexuals and married men and all that. They're all happy. Leave them alone. Quit judging people. When you judge people, the Bible says, do not judge lest ye be judged. Pay attention to that. That's all I got. Thank you.
Do you have anybody from the council?
I just want to say that obviously this is important. Oh, there was another person. Okay, sorry. Do you want to go ahead? Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Kathy Romero, and I live at 232 North Pershing. And y'all said something about faith. And I think a lot of it's misunderstood because we love people. We don't deal with sin issues, and that's what the Bible calls different issues. And I'm not saying that we don't love the individual, because we do. I have homosexuals and lesbians and those in my family. We love them without regard all the time. It's not about that. So try not to put believers or Christians in a box either. There is a lifestyle that the Bible talks about from Adam and Eve all the way to now. It's going to be there. And we love people. So we're not here to judge, but if you're a fornicator or any other type of sin, it's a sin. And that's all I did. That's all that is. So I'm just wanted to bring that clarity. It's not about loving people. We love all people.
I'm just going to say that this is why I think we need this. We've heard a lot of passionate people here tonight, and there are a lot of people who want to be recognized, and that's what this is asking. So I'd like to call question.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ms. Powell? Probably yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
No.
Mr. Green?
No.
Ms. Gilliam?
Yes.
President Dishman?
No.
3 no's, 6 yes.
Do we have any other business out there?
I'm sorry.
Long list. Okay. Do I give a public comment? No. Elizabeth Edgel. I think she may have left.
She left.
Okay. Charlize Jamison.
Pass.
Okay. Floyd Wellen. Okay. Curtis Dorgan.
Just something really quick. Since I was 12 years old, I've been involved in organizations. I was president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. Before I ever sat in that president's chair, I read the entire book of Robert's Rules of Order. I knew how to run the meeting, start to finish, beginning to end. As a leader in this town, I would hope you would do us all the favor and do the same. Thank you.
Troy Waters. Cheryl, and I said her name wrong before, Tegens, yes.
This is the second time Cheryl Teachins, 1518 West 13th Street. This is the second time I've been in front of the council. When I was there last, I was talking about the things that the ordinances and the codes that aren't enforced in my neighborhood. I am surrounded by 2 houses, 1 house in the front that basically do not adhere to the codes. And I have been in front of I have sent letters to back in 2016, 2015, which was 9 years ago, regarding the things that are happening, that are in my neighborhood that do not get enforced, that they do what they want to do, slum landlords and the renters themselves. And so I am in here to tell you that I have, hopefully something will be done. When I was here 2 months ago, or no, in August of this year, I was told that things would be done, but they weren't. My neighbor in the to the right of me basically did cut down a bunch of trees, put them in the middle of their backyard, limbs, and hasn't put it out to the city. And so I guess it was so that she wouldn't have to mow her yard. I'm not quite sure what the deal was. But I also have things that the city hasn't done that I have been to the urban forester about, and that is grinding a tree stump that's a 9-year thing, and it's still there. It is still about this high off the grade. And so, and then I put in, or did work this week, I put in a new sidewalk, and then also a portion of the pad of my driveway. And when I did that, someone turned me in, said that I was above grade on the sidewalk. I got a permit to do this work, and I had to pay like $80 to have the permit, and then 40 of that was because they said something about that you disturb the curb or disturb anything, then you have to pay $40 to make a cut or whatever. And the thing is this sidewalk that's in front of my house and in front of several of the houses is just completely obliterated. There's little chunks of concrete. There's this big trunk that didn't ever get ground down is still there. And it's like, after 9 years, it hasn't ever been done. And the Public Works Department came by because of the complaint from one of my neighbors, I guess, that I was above grade. He said that this Public Works, and that that if I bring this to the city in some shape or form, maybe I can get the sidewalk fixed all the way, not just the portion that I did, but both ways, all the way from Acorn to Perkins. And so I'm just asked, I talked to Brandon earlier, said that, that they would come out and cite and tag or whatever. And so that's good. But continue this. In other words, don't drop me. When we talk about the code of ethics, and it's like getting an ethics in, well, hey, you know, if a person has to work to try to get the city to just take care of their ordinances. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Overton. Ed Knatzer.
He's not here.
Morgan Roddy.
I'm good.
Okay. Jennifer Rice Snow. I think she's gone. Joseph Romero.
Hello, I'm Joseph Romero, and most of you know me. It's been a while since I've been here, but a lot of you know me for working with the homeless, church for the homeless, last year, Christmas for the homeless. And yes, I'm passionate about those that are unhoused, as we all should be. And I've been talking often to people that have the powers to realize that part of our crisis that exists with homelessness is the housing, the type of housing we have. I realized that when we started the Shepherd's Heart and Hands, we wanted to tackle an area that needed to be tackled, which we like to call low barrier housing, because something has to be done about all the housing that's available and what the criteria is for the housing. You can check with all your charities, all your nonprofits, all your low-income housing. The screen will always be the same. What is your background? Tell me about your past. And those are deciding factors. So we're going to continue to do that. But guess what? Another winter's here, and we're going to have the same issues, right? We got to keep these people alive, keep them warm. Since you've last seen me, a lot has happened. Our ministry has expanded greatly. Thank God for organizations like Ball State University, who's recognizing me being in the woods every day, feeding the homeless on a daily basis. Our organization is not just feeding at the warming center, but now it's come to my attention that poverty in Muncie is a problem. Many of you are aware of food distribution, food banks, all these things that exist. What you may not be aware is not everyone has access to them. Little did I know that when Ball State contacted me and said, we like Shepherd's Hearts and Hands to be the receiver of all the food at the end of the day. Even tonight, we picked up 200 and 300 pounds of food. I will be doing that every day. Me and my wife and our team, our volunteers. From this, not only are we feeding the homeless camps and helping those that are hungry, but we're discovering a new problem. There are people crying out to me saying, I can't make it to a food pantry. I says, what? I can't make it to a tailgate. Are you kidding me? Is this really an issue? I did my research. I found out there's plenty of places to get food. But if you're handicapped, if you're a senior on disability, you don't have a car, these are all issues. I want to bring that up because we have plenty of people doing food. Now, my problem of solving it was really easy. Who's willing to drop off a food box? It really is that simple. However, I'm not trying to get sidetracked from the mission of low barrier housing, but I am saying one of the things I want to sound an alarm is let's educate those that are already in the food business, doing food distribution, to say, hey, why don't you find a few volunteers? It doesn't take much to find out if little Sally with the 5 kids is really in dire need. All it took is one visit to a house with a woman who said, I got 5 kids and my car broke down. And the kids come running. The woman's in tears. I was sold that we had a problem. And I can tell you story after story that this is existing. Now, so Shepherd's Heart and Hands, we're doing this full time. There's a song, some of you might know this song. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself away. That is becoming my reality. I am a servant of God, but I'm also a servant of this community. and I do it willingly. We are one of the few public charities, 501c3s, that we are 100% volunteers. When you support this ministry and this charity, there's no one getting paid big salaries, but the work is very real, and it isn't hard to find out if we're really doing the work. Spend any day with me, you'll see it doesn't change. The food boxes have to go out every day. The homeless people have to be helped. And I'm not doing this alone. I'm working with all of you, all the agencies, and those of you that believe in what we're doing. I really am a true believer that love overcomes a multitude of problems. In the Bible, we say a multitude of sins. I like to say we together can be a city of love, and we can make a difference in this community. I'm truly believing for change. We are pursuing housing. The only thing stopping me right now is the funds. That's it. You got some property? Hey, talk to me. You got some houses that you don't mind letting go of? I have enough women right now to fill up a woman's home. And sometimes we think because they're homeless, we're talking about drug addicts, we're talking about alcoholics. No, I have visited the women, and I'm shocked and I'm scared for their lives. I know for a fact some of the women out there who are unhoused are afraid for their life. They're worried about being raped. Yes, that is a concern. We're working on a project called Shepherd's Huts. It's kind of like a smaller version of tiny homes. It's not going to cost a whole lot to put these together. But is there somebody who can help me acquire a spot to put these tiny homes at? I want you to think about that. There's some land that I know of that no one's going to use because no one's going to build a community next to the railroad tracks. But I could utilize that spot. I'm going to try to find out how to go about contacting somebody to say, hey, will you allow me to use this spot and create some emergency shelters? Because we do want to have a legalized kind of a tent city. I have camps that are over 30 people big. They're clean. The sanitation department's actually giving them a key to a gate. I shouldn't be advertising that, but that's how well they're doing. Because I'm coaching them. You want to last in the woods? Keep it clean. You want to last? Hey, don't be in the city. Be out in the woods. Be invisible. Don't disturb your neighbors. Cooperate with the law enforcement. And we're teaching people this so that the camps can last. Is the camps my permanent goal? No. We want to get them into housing, but there's a process, right? We have to work with them. And one of the things I've noticed is the infrastructure is lacking in a lot of our agencies. One person might focus on housing. Another person might focus on rehab, but they're not connecting the dots. For 30 years, I've been learning about connecting the dots, housing plus enjoyment and job skills and social workers. It all works together. I got news for you. You can come and visit me at the Warming Center, the Main Street Garden Church, which I have the privilege to help lead worship with Katina, who happens to be the lady who runs the Muncie Housing Authority, good friend of mine. We're talking about doing things in this city all the time. But I want to tell you at the Warming Center, we're opening it up for the winter again so that they have someplace to go. So from 1 to 4, Wednesday, Thursday, and of course, let's not forget Friday, Church for the Homeless. Every Friday they come there, and it's not your average church. We're coaching them. We're speaking life into them. And if they allow me, I do the one-on-ones with them. So I need your prayers, okay? And please just continue to root for, oh, big one, Christmas for the Homeless is coming up November 30th. We already got the tents, the blankets, and everything, and we're anticipating 200 to 300 people coming through the door November 30th. You're all invited, okay? And please keep us in prayer because every day we're doing this work, and we need your support too. Love you guys. You know it.
Is there any more on that list?
That's it.
I made a mistake. I should have brought ordinance 17-24 off the table I got to make a motion to bring it off the table.
Motion, second, to vote on it.
Okay. Is there a motion to bring it off the table, 17-24?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah. I'll second it.
Okay, ordinance 17-24, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R4 Residence Zone to the MHR Mobile Home Residence Zone for 701 and 703 through 711 West 15th Street, lots 1 and 2 in the John T. Eastbrooks First Edition, and the lot formerly addressed as 801 West 15th Street, Muncie, Indiana.
Sir, I apologize.
Thank you.
Okay, but I apologize for
I
overlooking.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Basham,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Ms. Selby,
Yes.
Ms. Nolan,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
President Beckman.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Okay, my name is Nate Schneider, and I work directly for the owner of the Garkey Mobile Home Park as a full-time employee and manager of the park. And actually, I should apologize too for missing the meeting last month. I was first time doing this, and I was misinformed about having to come to a second meeting. So I appreciate you all tabling it for me for an extra month here. What we are looking for is to do a zone change from R4 to the mobile home residence on 4 lots adjacent to the current mobile home park. We've been making lots of improvements on the current park, and if you'd like to look at them, I brought a few pictures of some of the newer mobile homes that we've replaced some of the older models with on the current park. We are in good standings with the health department, been in contact with the building commissioner's office and Mr. Selvey, and had the opportunity to sit down with him to discuss different housing options for the land, and he thought it's best for us to try to stick with what we know and put in some more mobile homes. Also have good standing with the planning commissioner's office, who has already approved the zone change. And back in September, during the first city council meeting, actually sent a representative to strongly urge the council to accept the zone change.
Did they ever get your streets fixed out there?
On 15th Street, we fixed the potholes already, and we're actually going to seal the roads here in the next few weeks.
I might check into that before him, Brandon. Okay. Anyone have any questions?
You can see the improvement over there. So I agree too with Mr. Selvey. What that would probably be the best to stick with what he told you. I believe that advice was probably the best. I've seen the newer mobile homes. They look good.
Drywall on the inside, everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of now the ones there before were a little different. So so I just thank you for the initiative in the neighborhood to put those in. So I thank you, and like I said, I do think it's a great move to stay with the mobile homes over there. So.
Anyone else got any questions? Anyone else? Anyone from the audience?
Hello, Eileen Swackhammer from the Plan Commission. I just came tonight in case no one else was here to speak on this case, but they are, so that was great. Has the support of the Plan Commission. This will help bring it into compliance. Some of these mobile homes have been here since before the ordinance was enacted, so this will help bring it into compliance. And the owner has been very forthgoing and forthcoming about working with the building commissioner and the Plan Commission.
Thank you.
So we appreciate that.
Just gonna make a motion.
All right,
Just
make
gonna
a
make a
motion.
motion to adopt.
Yeah.
You want to make a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion. Roll call, please. Sarah and
Oh, and me.
Nora.
Mason,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Fishman.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Thank you, council members.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Got a second? We're adjourned.
I was hoping we could stay.